Welcome to another edition of the Voice of the Call Nation radio show. Welcome. Folks, we're going to have a good show tonight. Last night's show was explosive. It's going viral. Not that many views yet, but it will. The whole thing is this, folks, and I'm not clout chasing, nothing like that, but I think there needs to be a new platform, right, that speaks to our people. I'm disappointed in I see Brandon Pan Afro Strike Back bowing out. Afro Stink Tank is going completely liberal, Marxist, leftist, feminine, and all whatever like that. Search for a Huru. I love Dinus, but you could call it Search for a Cuckoo because there's been a lot of cuckoo. He's been cuckoo lately with his topics. So where do you go? You can't go to Kunganda with O'Shea Duke Jackson. That's a straight up minstrel show. So what else can you turn to? Hey, that's where the Genesis and the colonization comes in. This is your home. This is your refuge. This is the place where you want to be as far as YouTube content creator. This is a platform that sticks up for your values. Yeah. I mean, I love my brother Dinus, man, but he's gone cocoa cuckoo. So I don't know. So I hope Dinus can get it together and everything like that. I think a lot of people is Dinus being naive or whatnot. This is one thing I want to start doing, right? As soon as we hit 1,000 subscribers, right? Only certain people are going to be able to come up on this platform, right? Unless you and people who I don't really agree with, I don't really like, whatever like that. I'll let some of them up when that, but it becomes redundant when I just got people just taking up space. You're going to pay. You're going to super chat, or you're not getting on here. And some people I love their contribution. They're welcome to come up here all the time. That's what it has to be. I don't like in Dynasty Show, he gives everyone a fucking platform. What the hell do you have? It wasn't necessary to have Elvis on every fucking day. Every time I look around, him, Lewis, and all these other people, I want Black America. I want to hear from us. That's what I'm saying. I'm going to be honest with you, right? People say you're Pan-Africans. I don't know about that. I do know I love all Black people, where you come from, and everything. But make no mistake, this platform is the people I want to reach. I want to connect with first are the heterosexual, straight, African-American, Black male. That's who I target. That's who I am. That's who I target. And that's who I want to build with. Nobody else. Everybody else is just a second thought. If you're Ghanaian, Liberian, Caribbean, whatever, yeah, fine. I consider you family too, but my priority is African Americans. That's what I care about. That's who I love and who I want to build with. That's my people. All right. So you call me a tribe? No, because I could move beyond being Black American. My wife's Liberian. I go to Liberian all the time. But the bottom line is, as far as this movement is concerned, the future of our people have to be in our hands. I can't put the future of Black America in the hands of other people and make them become slaves and whatnot, because that's what will happen. If we go to Africa unprepared and whatnot, we'll become their slaves. They'll require us to do, we'll be taxed more. It would not work out. It would not work. That's why at this point in time, this Pan-African and Black nationals need a movement, need a leader. And I'm going to be that leader. You need people with wisdom, people like this. I love my brother Big Black, but he's not equipped to advise on this movement. He don't know nothing about Africa. He doesn't study history and stuff like that. And I have to deal with the reality of sending people overseas. When you get a case, when you do a tour, and you literally bringing people from one country to another, and you're in a foreign country, and you're literally responsible for people's lives. You're responsible for where they sleep at that night. Like, oh man, the hotel's ready. Whatever like that. You're responsible for getting them from point A to point B. You're responsible for getting them around, having a good time, all that stuff like that. The health, everything like that, security, safety, all that you're responsible for. That's why I see nation building. You're taking on the ultimate responsibility of providing for and guiding and leading a people. And if you're not capable of that, if you're not a man and you're not strong, you cannot get in front of our people and lead. That's what I'm getting sick and tired of. I'm getting sick and tired of people who think they got a large internet following, a large platform, thinking they could lead somebody, and they're not. Now, specifically talking about O'Shea Duke Jackson, he has no business talking to Black America. And I'm going to make my point about that again tonight. I'm going to keep talking about this every night until I bring this dude down. You know, he has no business talking to Black America. He has no business grandstanding and pontificate. Somebody like him should be very, very humble or not. You know, he's not the center of Black life in America. One, majority of Black people, for the most part, are middle class. You know, most Black people didn't have the hardships he went up with. He grew up in the ghetto. He grew up with a dysfunctional family. Much as he tries to sound intelligent and whatever like that, that's where he's from. He's not from people with normal circumstances, with mom, dad, whatever like that, doing normal things. You know, who knows? He might have been abused his whole life, whatever like that. And the fact that when he acts, you could tell the way his narcissistic mindset is. You know, he basically lashes out at people he don't even know. And now he's lashed out at my good brother Bomani, who's never done anything to him, right? At the same time, I watched him lash out at Black people for years, talking about how much he hates Black people. Y'all gonna go to hell. I don't care. I'm gonna do what niggas want now. Why are you talking to a proud race of people? We're not fucking trash. You can just talk to like that. I would never. Sometimes I joke around, say, "Yeah, I want to be over here." I joke around sometimes too, but he loses to his voice. He really hates Black people, you know. Or if he does, he really has a hard time doing it because the way his whole content is showing the most negative part of Black America. If someone's always putting out negativity about Black America can't do this, and he's always bigging up other groups of people. Nigerians and Africans got way more problems in Black America. But he always talks about, he'll praise it. I don't even think O'Shea is African American. I don't think he's Black American, you know? So he has nothing good to say about Black America, but that's who his content is for. So we're supposed to just listen to a guy that just belittles us, degrades our culture, and basically make our lives seem like it was his life. He grew up in the trash and the gutter. I didn't grow up in the trash and gutter. I come from the East Coast of the United States. We've managed to build nice communities here for generations. We're pretty much independent. We're a Black independent community that's been here for 100 years, you know? So that's where I come from. My family came from the South to the North during the Great Migration, and we helped build New York City, you know? We own homes, you know? A lot of our family, our homes are paid for in New York, paid off. We're paid off in the 80s, you know? I don't come from trash. I'm going to come from ghetto and stuff like that. That O'Shea's always trying to make it seem like all Black people are struggling. Everybody's ghetto. Everybody's broke. And all this kind of stupid shit like that, you know? And the way you would think, the way he look at it, like the only people on YouTube, only way you can make YouTube as a Black person is going to be on YouTube. And then he makes a comment about me not knowing business. I have a fucking business, nigga. You know, a real business that pays me really well. You know? So the bottom line is this. You're on YouTube. If YouTube goes away tomorrow, you'll be homeless. I have a real business outside of YouTube. So before you start running your mouth about people, get to know who you're talking about. I don't really talk about people, personal business, because that's not what I do. I don't know anything about a lot of people and not. Even when that whole thing with Lou Major, Taiwan, and everything, I never really publicly commented on whether I thought Lou Major was scamming, because I really don't have but if I don't, even though it was very, very shady when went down with Lou Major and all of them, I'm not 100% convinced that they did something malicious and malevolent. And a lot of people say, "Oh, Kyle, it's obvious." No, I'm sorry. Before I slander somebody or accuse somebody of scamming or something serious, you know, and I damage somebody's reputation, I want to be 1,000% sure, you know, before I make a comment like that. I'm not going to get up here and recklessly talk about, I'm going to save Black America by telling everybody's scamming but me and whatnot. The only reason why O'Shea hasn't get like that because he doesn't have the balls to get out there and do something. Wait till he tries to do tourism or let him try to get into real estate. You know, then we see what he's talking about. He hasn't done anything but open up a fucking YouTube channel, you know? So that's no risk. When has he ever been put to the test? Bomani went to Africa for years and whatnot, dealt with hundreds of people, got people citizenship in Ghana, took 40 tours to the continent, you know, on a tour right now. Bomani's been put to the test. He showed the world what he could do. All these years of success Bomani has. His business is still exploding right now. So now what O'Shea says, Bomani's still growing. So we're just here tonight just to set the record straight with people. And I'm at the point now, I don't really give a damn who doesn't like it. I don't give a damn who listens to it. I just got to let you know on record when people want to know what Colin thinks or whatnot. Now you know. And there's nothing against, I don't hate anybody. Don't even hate O'Shea, But I will stick up for my brother, my brother Bomani, because I know him. He's a good brother. He's a good brother. He really cares about he really loves and cares about black people. That's evident. Everything I talk to him about, he really loves his people. Bomani, he said, Bomani, O'Shea made a comment to Bomani, talking about you're a Jamaican and what the hell is being from fucking Jamaica got to do with it? Bomani's part of our community, He's part of the black community in New York. Been in New York for years, since he was 7, 8 years old, He grew up here. So what the hell are you talking about? There's people like don't even know that. People from the West Coast don't even know that. When you come from the East Coast and whatnot, you may have, like me, I have relatives by marriage that are from the islands, from Bermuda, from Bahamas, from Barbados, Jamaica, Haiti, and whatnot, all married into my family, in New York. But that's the way it is. Black people was black people back then, all this stuff about FBA and all this kind of stupid shit about that's so freaking stupid. And O'Shea going along with Tariq because he wants to want the blessings from his Lord God Savior Tariq Nasheed. He has so much smoke for somebody like a little Mark meets Africa, but says nothing about Tariq. The bad guy's been ripping Black America off for years with his bogus Hidden Color series and whatnot. That's not black produced or anything like that. No, nothing like that. Nothing like that. That Hidden Colors Museum, it was a bait and switch. He used an AI generated building and whatnot. People thought, oh, it's gonna be nice, whatnot. And then what was manifested was nothing more with a corner shack. It was like a lounge. You know what a museum is, but did O'Shea raise concerns about that? Like he talks about Umar Johnson all the time. He can't get Umar Johnson out of his mouth. His school, blah blah blah. Let's say so. The bottom line is this: yes, we all want to stop the scamming, and there's a lot of scammers, and I don't know. See, I personally don't know because I've never researched any of these people. We did know about R.J. Mahdi, and even then, I don't know 100% sure was it did he steal people's money or just he mismanaged it, got in over his head, and that was it. So I have no idea. I would have to have more proof that R.J. Mahdi was actually scamming. Maybe he was just a bad business person, bad with money. So when you accuse somebody, you basically accuse somebody of scamming. That's fucking serious. That is freaking serious. That's a person's whole reputation, everything on the line. And what does that say about you if you're recklessly accusing somebody of something and based on when we played the video last night? Somebody said, you going by rumors? Yeah, I believe go by rumors, nigga. The rumors, they caught cursing the people out one night, acting all, had a bug crawling on them and whatnot doing the fucking show, cursing people out. You're like, yeah, how dare you question me? Who the fuck does this nigga think he is? Because I said so and whatnot. Yeah, it was rumors, right? Because I said so. Who the heck who made O'Shea Jackson anything? Who invited him into so-called Pan-African space anyway? I would like to know what that is. Who gave him his stripes? Who gave him his marching papers? Who co-signed him? Who gave him validation? So the bottom line is this. This is what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about the lasting effects of this minstrel culture. And what you see now in a lot of areas of Black America was Hebrew Israelites, is this friggin' buffoonish, and it's a survival mechanism. Black people act like buffoons and clowns and whatnot, minstrel, as a way of surviving and not confronting the fact that they live in captivity. That's what it is. So if you could basically center your whole existence around playing, dancing, singing, just being happy-go-lucky and everything like that, that's what the minstrel is all about. The black man is a simpleton. He's foolish. He's childish. He's perpetually a child in his mind. He's perpetually unethical. He's perpetually immoral. You know, he's perpetually self-righteous. Every last single vice he puts on airs. All the hallmarks that they created of the caricature that they created. That's what the minstrel sambo culture is. And a lot of us do these things, because that's the only way we know how to live. Yeah, it is cold. I said the show, I had to delete that show from the night Arrested. That was one of my best shows. I had to delete it because something happened on the show, but I had to delete that episode, folks. I think I got it saved, on my computer in my office. I got to find it. But I might send it to Hustle Smart to spice it up and edit it. But yeah, our development is in a state in this state. Like perfect example. Look at O'Shea Jackson. Is he a man? Is he a boy? What is he? At a certain point in time, at a certain age, a man realizes he has to get a woman to carry him through life. He has to produce children. He has to settle down and get serious about what he's going to do in life. If O'Shea Jackson said he went and got his medical degree, why the fuck is he not being a doctor right now? Why is he in some dusty country, Uganda, whatnot, doing videos, Pan-African dating game, and all this kind of stupid stuff? And somebody told me something else he got into that flopped, and all this kind of nonsense in it. But yet, this guy really thinks he got it going on. I mean, 45 years old on YouTube fucking gossiping. Well, someone like Bomani, only a couple of years older than O'Shea, this guy has brought like 40 tour groups to Ghana and South Africa, all over the African continent. So how the hell is somebody going to dare compare O'Shea to Bomani? So I want O'Shea to listen to this, and I want all these people to listen to this tonight because I've had it. So it's like I said, at a certain age, you got to grow up. There's a way men have to talk to him. But Monty went to him. I saw the conversation, and he was very respectful. He said, I understand talking. O'Shea just like a friggin' child, like a little girl, just started cursing. Look, nigga, but why do black people feel like they got to talk to each other like that? Unprofessional, uncouth, uncivilized, all they know how to do is cuss people out and whatnot and get mad. That's who y'all fucking listening to? O'Shea's a fucking Sambo. And we're going to talk about this Sambo culture tonight in Black America. We got cats that are 50 years old still dressed. Yeah. You got dudes in the 50s, 25. You got dudes 50 years old sagging their pants like they're 16. That's the problem in Black America. Nobody wants to grow the fuck up. Nobody wants to grow up and be a fucking adult. Everybody wants to relive their childhood years well into their 40s and 50s and shit. Nobody wants to give it up and become a man. When I decided to become a man, I put away childish things. What was important to me as a kid is not important now. I don't really, like I said, there's nothing wrong with sports and everything, but I'm not obsessed with sports anymore. I don't care about who won the Super Bowl. I don't really give a damn about who's going to the NBA and all this kind of stupid like that, who's draft picked and all these other. I don't sit there. I don't care about celebrity junk or what celebrities are doing and whatnot. Why is that important as a grown ass fucking man? Because that's why he makes his money. He makes his money doing muckraking and garbage. Because he knows his audience is basically immature people, and continental Africans always looking for somebody that's going to throw Black America under the bus, make themselves feel good about their miserable existence. They want to paint this idea that everybody in Black America is trying to get to Africa and Africans act all holy now. Let me break it down to you. I would say those of us who are interested in Africa probably no more than 3 or 4% of the Black America. 3 or 4% of Black Americans interested in Africa. We're a small, minute group, So it is what it is. It is what it is, So we're going to talk about that tonight, folks, But we gotta basically talk about. I want to talk about minstrel culture and why it's dangerous. Look, social media has the ability to resurrect shit that was dead. I mean, like it could be a time where gangster Bloods, Crip style, 80s gangster rap music could resurface again. Why? Because you have social media could create viral stuff and viral trends and everything like that. And so, therefore, it's not surprising that the minstrel culture is making a comeback. And now it's infected the Pan African world with this Kunganda channel. The minstrel, buck dancing, sambo, shining, Sam, man, get him out of here when that the whole fucking buck dancing culture is now part of that. Now it's like people like looking at the whole thing, even the way people are getting making stupid mistakes in Africa. That's silly sambo culture. I'm gonna go to Africa tomorrow. Never owned a damn thing in America, right? Never owned a business, never owned a house, but you're gonna go across the world and suddenly you're gonna have all this land, houses, and whatnot. That's what I'm talking about by foolishness. People don't act like adults, don't make adult decisions. So you can't blame everybody for people's fundamental mistakes in life. Now, there's gonna be some people like, okay, you want to move to the continent? Maybe I can start a business. I can advise people, whatever, like that, because like I said, since there's demand for it, I'm going to try to supply it. And then people try to supply it, and when they both figure out it was stupid and it don't work, you can't just hold the person who tried to meet a demand responsible. Mark Me Africa was only there because people came to him asking for help, trying to get to the continent. As long as there's people misguided thinking they're going to escape their problems by going to Africa, this is why we came up with the idea ultimately of an African, so we can be real organized on a high level to protect ourselves, provide for ourselves, and build the sort of culture that we know and be around our own people in Africa and integrate into African society from a position of power and strength. I don't have nobody blocked. If somebody's blocked, it's probably one of my moderators. One of my moderators block people because either they're being disrespectful or something like that. They're using foul language or being belligerent. I don't know who blocks who. Only person I blocked there was Zongo, and that was by accident, and I don't know how to unblock people. I haven't figured out how to unblock people. So I had no idea. I know how to unblock people from from calling in. But as far as like the chat room, I think once you're blocked, you're blocked. Unless somebody can tell me how to unblock somebody from the chat room. I haven't figured it out yet. Maybe I need to do it from my office computer or whatever like that, but I can't get it on this Chrome computer. No, I don't have anybody blocked. Those people could easily just call in or log in with a dummy account and participate in the chat room if they want to, So I don't have anybody blocked intentionally. I let everybody talk and whatnot, My moderators that keep things in order in my chat room, So it is what it is. But yeah, so this is what we're talking about tonight. This is going to be a good show. We're not just getting started, whatever. Wait till some more people are coming in. I'm gonna really start piling it on. So this is just basically real mess. Also, I got a treat for you guys. Bomani sent me the first video of the first failures of my organization, the Black African Infrastructure Organization. Our first meet and greet in the summer of 2018. And that was a beautiful time period, right? That's when we was at our pinnacle. At that meeting, Dinah Samir was there. It was in Atlanta, Georgia. Dinah Samir was there. Bomani was there. My guy, Jonathan Hill was there. Belle, that used to be on Dinah's show a lot, she was there. And we organized the first of what we was hoping for, a mass movement. And the movement was growing until this new major Taiwo shit came along and hijacked the movement. Now I'm dealing with this Dr. Arikana shit, steering people. Let me tell you something. This whole movement that you see right now, as far as like Pan African, the head of this was me and the Black African Infrastructure Organization. That's where this all comes from, right? But the whole movement has spiraled out of control by people doing their own thing and not listen to my advice and everything like that. So people can't hold me responsible for anything, because everything I was going to do, whatever like that, I never got a chance to do it because people just went their own way, did their own thing and everything like that. So it was out of my hands, When people say, "Well, what do you think about this project somebody doing?" I have nothing to do with it. I had nothing to do with that Dynasty's project. Something didn't right was smell right with me with that. I felt like there was something suspicious. And then Luke Major tried to reach out to Bomani, and I told him, man, don't do it, man. Don't give it that guy. Bomani took my advice, and I saved his business. I said, not that I'm saying he's a bad guy, but the bottom line is this: if you're a serious business person, you got to be with serious people. And some people got ideas or whatnot. I mean, every time I hear, I got a dime for every idea, somebody like that. Or people just, I think, I feel or not, and they don't have no real track record of building anything. Stay away from them, Stay away from them. Stay away from those type of people, That's it. That's just having common sense. Knowing knowing where to do things and have a sense of discernment. What does your gut feeling tell you? Sometimes your gut feeling, if you have a gut feeling about something, you're often right. Sometimes your gut feeling will tell you something is wrong. Go with your gut feeling, So it is what it is, folks. It is what it is. So things happen. Like I said, I can't prove anybody was basically, Brewery says, California, you may be in the same room with ADOS, but the difference, core energy. I don't have no idea what you're talking about, Brewery. I was talking about Brewery to Bomani today, man. I don't know what the hell what this goofy stuff is all. It's not rooted in reality. I have no idea what this idea, whatever like that. I'm just me. I just talk the way I see the world. This is just the way I see the world. If I basically believed in what you're talking about, I would say that. If I thought it was real, whatever like that, I would be like, yeah, we got to do this Ubuntu thing and blah, blah, blah. And all this Afrocentric, that stuff just don't work. It don't work. Because if that stuff was really real, like you said, Baruti, then there would be no ADOS FBA movement in this country, which is probably the most dangerous thing threatening Black America. These people are trying. Look, I'm not telling nobody they have to love Africa. I'm not telling nobody they got to go to Africa. I'm not saying that at all, But I do say that when you basically are trying to erase history, you're trying to erase history by saying that you did not come from the transatlantic slave trade, that you were already here and all stuff like that. You're delusional. And pretty soon you're going to lose your mind. Because every time something happens, right? When police, I just saw a video just out going viral where it was like a church meeting or something. And there was all these redneck cops with fucking with fucking machine guns, military grade machine guns. And they was like, everybody gets the wall, get on the floor, whatever that. These were elderly people, Black people, and that church going people. And they came in armed. So when that trauma like that happens to you, right? That don't happen to white people. Or when you see somebody get arrested, right? And they get manhandled by the police or whatnot, in your mind it's because it's a continuation of Black dehumanization and degradation that still goes on in America. And if you ignore that, you're going to retard yourself. And the reason why it happened is because our ancestors were brought here in chains. So fundamentally, no matter what rights you think you have, no matter how many wars you think you're for in, no, Pan-Africanism is not dangerous to you because no one's asking you to join Pan-Africanism. I have never said anybody should join Pan-Africanism and stuff like that. I never said that. I don't care if people don't become a Pan-Africanist. I never said that. How's that dangerous to you? If I choose to be involved with Africa or not, what does that have to do with you? What does that have to do with you? The Pan-African is dangerous. You're not, first of all, I don't consider you an American. I consider you Black. That's it. You're Black African in America, right? You're not an American. American is a white Anglo-Saxon person. That's an American. So I am not, what part of I am not begging nobody? First of all, when we talk about my organization, right, I don't even want women involved. You know, I don't even want women involved. You don't have to worry about that. You know, for during my lifetime, you're not gonna see any women involved with no black nationals movement. You know, it's gonna be for men and strong men only. Now, whatever you guys want to do in America, hey, I wish you a lot of luck. We're gonna need people to stay in America. I don't even want most black people. If I could get like 20% of the black population involved in this, that's a victory for me. I don't want every black person. A lot of you guys can just stay in America, do what the hell you want to do, and don't be involved with us. You know, so yeah. Oh, hold on. This is how ignorant this person is. Europeans, the American is basically a European. The American was basically the 13 colonies, you know? Americo Vespucci, right? That's where the term American came from. He was a European explorer, Americo Vespucci. So you're telling me that you was an Italian explorer, Pinky Wells? An American are the Anglo-Saxons, the early Spaniards, and the Dutch and everything that first settled this continent. They were called Americans. And the place in the New World was called America. North America and South America. All the people that migrated from Europe were called Americans. Not you. That's what I said. When people are basically stupid and ignorant and whatnot, this is what you have. People like Pinky, who's never read a book in their life, were uneducated. White people aren't Americans. They are the Americans. You're the one that don't know who the hell you are. You see those white people that run the government in this country, the police, everything like that, who has a power in this country, who controls the banks, who control everything like that, you know? So look, how am I rewriting? I'm just telling you how history is. There's no Pinky. I'm gonna put the link in the chat. Show me anywhere in history where you could validate where you're at. Show me one book, one reference, and everything. You know, I am not a Caribbean. That's what I'm saying. These people, see, just the way you're talking right now, stupid stuff, you're gonna get blocked in a second. I don't like ignorant people. You know, I really don't. I know the history of America. I know your black behind came from Africa. And you're stuck in a country called America, the United States, like the rest of us. You know, I'm an American. Yeah, you're an American living in the fucking the gutter. Well, yeah, like I said, and that's what I said. The internet is dangerous. It gives people a forum to freaking be ignorant and stupid and whatnot. You know, there's no scholarship. You know what I'm saying? If this keeps going on, then what happens is regular education is going to die and disappear when people are online being ignorant, reinforcing stupid stuff and whatnot, like the ADOS FBA, the so-called WABO people and whatnot. This is all freaking stupidity, you know? And the only place you see, you don't see it in a book, you don't see it in the library, you don't see any credible source, but the friggin' online, you know? You don't see nobody, you don't see it on the mainstream media, you don't see none of the stuff in the mainstream media, anybody like that, anywhere where there's scholarship and education, you know? Ignorant people like me are dangerous, you know? I'm dangerous, but I'm educated. I know history. When you're sitting there talking about a bunch of ignorant internet babble and whatnot, that you know history. History's already here. That's why I said these fucking ignorant people. You don't have to worry about us when you just have to worry about yourself. You're the one that's the fucking problem. And this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. This is Pinky right here, you know? You know, the Sambo culture. Like everybody, a Sambo lives in his own reality, man. If you talk to a Sambo, he thinks he's the center of the world, man. You know, that's what I'm telling you. How these people think, these super ignorant black people think. You know, I didn't. ADOS FBA is another Sambo movement, Sambo minstrel culture movement. Every time I wheel about a jump Jim Crow, I went down to the river. I didn't mean to stay, but there I saw so many gals I couldn't get away. Wheel about and turn about and do just so. Every time I wheel about a jump Jim Crow. Give me back my clothes, please. And so it was that a young song and dance man, who was later belovedly known as Daddy Rice, was the first to bring blackface characterization to the American stage. Yeah, all you blackface idiots, I don't see the difference between fucking all these ADOS, FBA, all this. Like I said, we live in a minstrel age, right? The ADOS, FBAs, we're fucking Indians. We were already here before the white man. We're the true Americans. It's all minstrel culture, all stupid minstrel culture that black people like this. Okay, so Lynn Turner. I want to get a nice short one. So yeah, modern day minstrel. You can add the ADOS FBA movement right to this thing, the modern
Minstrel shows, a 19th century form of entertainment in which white people would put on blackface for the purpose of playing idiots and enslaved people. At one point, it was one of the most popular forms of entertainment and kept going from the mid 1800s all the way to the 1970s. Recently, there have been some internet personalities that have had the idea related to them. Often, the defense is that black people can't do minstrel shows, but that's a lie. William Henry Lane and Thomas Dilworth became the first black men to perform minstrel shows. The original Georgia minstrels dominated for a decade alongside Sam Hague's slave troupe and Rapid-Foot minstrels. There were black people who performed in minstrel shows, hoping to capitalize on the racism, no matter the harm or shame it might bring to other black people. So yes, the black people making these videos are doing minstrels. Black people supported them because it was the only way black people could get on stage in America for a long time. But in 2023, we don't need to do that anymore. Minstrel shows, a 19th century form of entertainment in which white people would put on blackface for the purpose of playing idiots and enslaved people. At one point, it was one of the most popular forms of entertainment.
Minstrel shows were the first American-made form of entertainment, predating even Broadway. These shows featured white performers in blackface, caricaturing African Americans, depicting black people as lazy, ignorant, and superstitious. And guess what? They were insanely popular, not just in America, but internationally. Minstrelsy left its mark on vaudeville, early film, and even modern music and comedy. Minstrel shows were the first American-made form of entertainment,
The Yaller Girl is a mixed-race woman with characteristics like a white woman, but with the exoticness and availability of a Negro. They were the centerpiece of minstrel plantation fantasies and were not involved in comedy. The minstrel song Lucy Long played a part in popularizing the Yaller Girl. In minstrelsy, Lucy is a sexually promiscuous woman. The song Lucy Long is said to be the origin of the prima donna or the wench caricature. The song was part of the third act of the minstrel show. The Yaller Girl.
Minstrel shows were 19th and early 20th century performances featuring white performers in blackface, perpetuating racist stereotypes. Despite entertainment value, they reflect a painful legacy of exploitation, reinforcing derogatory portrayals of African Americans and contributing to systemic racism. Minstrel shows were 19th and early 20th century performances.
Look, this girl Pinky is about to get kicked out of here. I didn't block anybody. I didn't delete nobody's comments and everything like that, And nobody blocking comments. Nobody's blocking comments or anything like that, But you're not going to come here and bully my chat. This is what it is. And like I said, I'm trying to be nice to you, right? Yeah, and let you like that. But you keep talking, you're going to get blocked. You're going to get blocked. I don't like people coming in my chat room with all this vitriol. Sit here and fucking listen to the damn show. Joe, I'm just giving fair warning. I'm like anybody see, I'm giving this person fair warning. Put a one in the chat room. You think Kyle's being patient? If you think I'm being patient, put one in the chat room. Dusty Bro says, that's why I laugh when Roland Martin said black people have to save democracy. Yeah, like I said, the whole act, everything, the politically, Black America is a minstrel show. Jasmine Crockett, that's a minstrel show. Cory Booker getting up there making a fool out of himself, like whatever, like that. Al Green, this is all a fucking part of this minstrel show. Nobody's serious about anything. Nobody got no real agenda. A minstrel person, a Jim Crow, just talk. He's serious about not being serious and just emotional. He has no real agenda and everything. He has no. He had the whole idea of a freaking Sambo. Just like these ADOS FBA people, they know nothing about how the real world works. They have no power. They have no say-so over anything. They just exist in a white man's world and whatnot, and they make up fantasies about their history. They tell themselves how great they were thousands of years ago. And like I said, even our historians, it's a minstrel show, you know? We built pyramids, we were kings and queens, and blah, blah, blah. What I don't want, what I'm going to say right now is the African, the Black nationalist movement is probably the only thing real. It's not a minstrel show. Integration in America has been a minstrel show. Black people trying to hold on to the American dream is a fucking minstrel show. Black people talking about nation building, expanding, and becoming part of the global community and stuff like that, and expanding beyond America. That's not a minstrel show. That's reality. As long as you basically tether yourself to the white man in America, and you're going to have the nerve to say, oh, white people are America, we're Americans, when you have no power, you own nothing here, you have no say-so or anything. You don't have, where you live at, Picky, you don't even have fucking jobs. You got to go to the white man to get jobs and everything. I said, this shows like this. Like I said, this platform is powerful because everybody knows been following, proof that they deliberately redline black neighborhoods. Now, do you have the power to redline white people? No, because you don't have the power to create anything. They have the power to build factories. They have to build industries. They have the power of collecting taxes. You have absolutely no power. So how can you be the American? So that'll be the first time in human history where the powerless people are calling the shots. This is how stupid these people sound and whatnot, you know? We're the real American. This is what they think about what you just said. We're the true American, not the Europeans. Everybody know American means the white people who settled across from the Mayflower. The people who came on here on the Mayflower, you know, and the people that came here from Western Europe, those settled in here in this continent, those were called Americans. After they explore America, you probably never heard of American Best Music. That's what I said. When people are uneducated and they get in online and whatnot, you know, all I can do is sit here and educate you. America comes from the man Amerigo Vespucci. You know, he was an explorer, and so they named this continent after him. And the people who came from Europe, right, were called Americans. So how could you? I was already here. You was already here. You know, I was already here. I was here. No, you weren't. So you lie about your origin, and then you lie about I was a real American. Okay, well, what language are you speaking? You listen to some of these idiots or whatnot. You know, these minstrel idiots on this ADOS, FBA. We were already here. You know, wobble types. You know, where they're Aboriginal. Okay, you ask them, well, what was the language you're speaking? We'll speak English. And then one of them actually said on this show and many other shows is English is our native language. And we taught the white man English. This is how ignorant these people are. And they actually believe it too. This is what I'm talking about, the lasting effects of the minstrel culture. When you don't take anything seriously, when you don't take education seriously, when you don't take learning real history seriously, this is what you have. And I'm here to teach people. You know, that's what I'm here for. That's why I take my time, right? I could be doing anything right now, but I take my time because I know I have a lot to say to the world. I want to deliver my people from this ignorance. You know, America is nothing but a poison. And the love of America is probably the most dangerous thing black people can have. Because America means death. From day one, when I first ancestors were first brought over here, America means death. America is a graveyard, a mental, a physical graveyard for the black race, and that's the truth. Everyone knows that. Now, I don't mean you have to leave America and whatnot, but I'm saying just be aware. Like I said, I saw that video with all those black people. You see redneck cops or whatever, just talking to them any kind of way, armed to the teeth. What are you doing? Like 10 or 15 cops with friggin' assault rifles in a freaking church. What the hell happened? I don't know what the reason is. They say, well, maybe a wanted criminal was in there, but you don't understand the trauma you just put these people through. So I'm saying to myself, all I can say is we convince ourselves nowadays to be like, well, maybe they did something wrong or not. But the bottom line, and I know, white people, if that was a white church or not, it could be a white serial killer in there. They would not do that. So black people, at the point now, we used to confront racism. Now we're just turning a blind eye to it, right? And keep telling ourselves that we're Americans, we're FBA, that we're the black immigrants are our biggest threat. They're trying to take something from us and whatnot. Only thing that anybody could take from you is your fucking chains off on your mind. A black man, only thing you have to lose is your chains. So I don't know what like everything. Sometimes I think like that too. I think, oh yeah, I'm an American, but like that. Then when I see stuff like that, it just reminds me. There was another incident that just happened. I see the stuff online. A lot of stuff I see on Facebook. I can't share Facebook on this computer right here. I gotta get another computer. This guy, a homeless guy, got on the bus and he bumped up against a lady. Right, he was just trying to move her out of the way. Same thing happened to me at the airport. And then she said he touched her, or whatever, like that. And the police had the guy in handcuffs. And the lady was out there, why are you arresting him? He was like, well, I didn't do nothing, because he's powerless, he's poor, and whatnot. And just the helpless look on this brother's face. And I'm saying to myself, 2025, we're still going through the same thing our ancestors did 400 years ago. We're just power. A woman could just say you touched her and whatnot. And next thing you know, your life is on the line with the police and whatnot. Remember that happened in Central Park a couple of years ago? The guy was bird watching, and the lady said, I'll tell everybody I'm white. They're going to believe me and whatnot. That's reality of living in America. But this is what Pinky Wells and all these other people want us to sit back and be proud of. That's why some black people want to get the hell out of here, Pinky. They're sick and tired of it. So if they're going to they feel like, even if they make mistakes in Africa, it's well worth it to be away from these people and stuff like that. Now, if you like wherever you like, no, you probably live in a ghetto, And the bottom line is, you ever see these ghetto people? They got nothing. They're poor, live in dirty, filthy environments and whatnot. Yet they're always worried about what fucking black immigrants will think, what they're doing and whatnot, They're changing their fucking life. I wouldn't even want to live around some of these people, But yeah, so like I said, we have the lasting effects of minstrel culture in Black America. Minstrel culture causes Black people not to take life seriously. It causes you to be clownish, joking, foolish, full of nonsense, and full of childish antics and everything like that. Just look at when you have that lady girl Chantel used to call on my show. She's 45, 46 years old, almost 50. But when I'm sitting there listening to her talk one night, I swear to God, you would think you were talking to a 15-year-old. Most Black women, they get to the age of 15, and that's it. They be 35, but they're still 15. All those years never turned them into a woman, never matured them or anything like that. They stay like, a lot of Black men too. A lot of Black men turn like 17, and they stay 17, 18 until they're well in their 40s. No mature. Their development is arrested, Foolish, never read books or whatever like that. They think they can erase history. There's a number of minstrel culture. They think they can erase history, make history as they go along when that to suit their needs. Slavery is just too painful to talk about. Let's just say slavery never happened. That's the lasting effect of this minstrel culture. Do you see where the college genesis is going to? Do you see why they call me the college genesis? The chief host of the Voice of the College Nature. You see why this platform is going to be number one. You see why people like Baruti don't matter and whatnot, because there's nobody going to bring it to you like College Genesis. I'm telling you the truth. So I might not be Ubuntu out or whatnot. I may not have all the Afrocentrist talk points, but what I do have is the truth. And that's why Baruti people listen to me and they don't listen to you. Yeah, I do love Taoism. It taught me a lot. I listened to a lot of philosophies. I studied the Shiloh. I studied the Czars. I studied the whole world. I studied Western civilization. I studied African civilization. I studied Asian civilization. I'm well rounded in my view. I have a universal. That's what they call universal learning. I have a universal thing. So when I basically come to you, I'm coming from somebody that knows history, knows how the world operates and whatnot. So yeah, I have a little bit of Zen in me. I have a little bit of Tao in me. I have a little bit of Islam in me. I have a little bit of Christianity in me. I have a little bit of Mali in me. I have a little bit of Yoruba in me. I have a little bit of Igbo in me. I have a little bit of Congo in me. I have all these things that basically circulate. I'm a little bit of African American from the South. I'm a little bit of New York. I'm a little bit of Harlem, a little bit of Queens. All these things have affected how I perception, how my summers in North Carolina as a kid growing up and whatnot, the things I worked on my granddad's farm and whatnot, that's part of who I am. So all these things I've learned all my life, I'm not going to throw them away just to embrace some stupid thing called Ubuntu and whatnot, I'm sorry, Baruti, if you don't understand where I'm coming from. That's why you're never going to be at my level. You'll never be on a platform like I do. You'll never have people listen to you like I do. I'm sorry. So let me with that, I'm gonna play some videos of our first meeting and stuff like that. I know people want to see that. I wasn't there, but Bomani was there, and John, the whole BAO crew. I was so proud back then because when all those when the BAO members showed up there with the BAO logo shirts on, and they were out there with Bomani, we're not old school type of black nationalists, right? With this new generation of kids. These were kids in their 20s. Jonathan Hill was only like 28, 29. Bell was only like in her 20s, whatever like that. These are young people and that, but they listened to College Genesis and whatnot. They were like, yeah, this idea of an African state is doable. Let's build a nation. Why? Because these are the people that had college education for the first time in our history. We were the Black Nationalist Movement. The BAIO was the first Black national movement was able to attract a certain segment of Black America. That's what they fear so much. We're able to attract Black middle America. And that's what the base is. That's where I represent. I represent Black middle America. Education. Working class, middle class. The people who got degrees, the people who got skills, the people who have money, the people who know about the world and whatnot, that's the type of people that I was drawn to the BAL, so this is what I'm talking about. So folks, I put the link in the chat room. You want to chime in tonight? We're talking about tonight, the lasting effects of the minstrel culture. Yeah, speaking of which, IC3. Oh boy. Yeah, but IC3 is a good guy, man. Just, I don't know, strange. He's a good guy though. He's a good guy. He's not harmful, in any way, sort of way, but he got some goofy ideas, some good, but I don't know. Yeah, but it is what it is, Yeah, and another thing is that whole reparations movement is part of the minstrel show, You really think about what I just said, right? I said the reparations movement is also part of minstrel culture, Because if you think in a million years, the same people who basically would not even put factories where you lived at, redlined you or not, don't want you see barely want to pay you minimum wage, don't want to give you basic health care, basic needs, and everything like that. If you think these people are going to say, something, we're going to bankrupt America for the next 500 years to pay back Black people. Okay, I got a bridge I want to sell you. And this, look, the fucking minstrel culture has people like Phil Scott, who's a Sambo, going around actually telling people that this is doable. That it's people, the minstrel effects of Black America, right? You got people actually taking reparation movement as a serious movement and that people withhold their vote on. This is the thing. Oh no, IC3, not tonight, IC3, man. Not tonight, man. I'll do a show tomorrow night. You can come on, Well, I do not want to hear about no reparations. I'm not in the mood, I am not in the mood to hear about reparations. I don't want to hear about no payouts from white people. I don't want to hear it. I'm sick of that whole Sambo minstrel culture, It's not funny no more. It's not cute. Talk about reparations and whatnot. It's like I am a serious person. I'm a serious person, and that reparations stuff is not a serious talking point. is not serious. So we basically have people out here. One thing I would say about my brother Bomani, that's a serious man. And when I talk to serious, let's talk about minstrels. All right, I'm gonna let you up. I'm gonna give you 5 minutes, IC3. Let's see what you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll stick with the subject. Thanks for letting me up. Yes. So we'll stick with the subject. So you're right, the minstrel show. But there's a saying. There's a saying that many a serious thing are said in jest. So they used to have something called the court jester.
Yeah, black people are court jester. I don't know what kind of point they're trying to make, because I guess you are pointing, but the thing is, though, it's all based on what the king gets out of it, or the power they get. Yeah, the court jester will say things, but he has no power over it. He can influence, just like you have Flip Wilson, Red Fox, Richard Pryor. They had many social commentaries and whatnot, but they're like a court gesture, right? Some of the people say, okay, I got that message from Richard Pryor's movie, Blue Collar, or his Slab on Sunset script or that. But the bottom line is, he didn't have no power over the world he lived in. He was basically just a court gesture, Yeah, like I said, that's all we are, jockeying for influence and everything like that. And the white man uses us, as like props, so they can scapegoat, say, something, I think I got to change your heart because I saw this movie. Black people were compelling, whatever like that. That's why you think the March on Washington was a Sambo move. I have a dream. In the midst of black people killed, lynched, murdered in Mississippi, just that same year, 4 black girls were blown up in Birmingham, Alabama. Yeah, he's up there talking about I have a dream and whatnot.
Yeah,
that was a fucking complete minstrel show. I don't care. People never heard anybody talk like this before, but I'm different from everybody else. That was a complete minstrel show. The whole March on Washington, the whole foolishness, thinking that you're going to integrate with people who fucking hate you.
Yes.
100%
agree.
Nation building and stuff like that. That's a problem, And so
okay.
my point about trying to make tonight is the minstrel show is coming to Africa with this O'Shea Duke Jackson nonsense, And I'm like this, when you talk about Africa, whatever like that, whatever it is, I believe it has to be serious, You can't have a Pan-African dating channel and all this kind of stupid stuff, celebrity gossip and all this kind of stupid nonsense. Pan-Africanism or black nationalism or repatriation or even tourism is a serious thing. And what I get from Bomani Tyehimba is that is a serious man,
Yes, I agree.
For him to be mocked by somebody like O'Shea Duke Jackson, like, oh, slandered, no evidence, no nothing, no proof, no nothing. I don't need proof, So
I back you up. Bomani is serious.
Yeah,
yes, even my interactions with him, yes, he's the real deal.
Yeah, he's a real serious man, And so the bottom line is this: and like I said, some people got to be, held at different, or else this whole movement will become a minstrel show. You can't just let people come in there and just talk about certain people and that. Some people you gotta leave alone. That person
yes
is
sacred.
That person's sacred like that. Now the people who can talk about Bomani, maybe somebody on a different level could critique him and whatever like that. But some YouTuber, that does entertainment when I have no business talking about Bomani, that's the way I see it, And the fact that the people taking O'Shea seriously shows me that we still got a minstrel culture where people used to actually listen. I always have respect for Paul Robeson. I don't think he was minstrel, right? But Bojangles, who else? Step and Fetch It, and who was that other one? Louis Armstrong, That's what that Sambo culture was, right? And Malcolm X once said, we're the only group of people that have entertainers as leaders. They said Dick Gregory. Dick Gregory was a Sambo, he was a comedian, entertainer. They said when they said Negro leaders, they brought Dick Gregory, Lena Horne. And the point Malcolm was saying was, we still live in a minstrel culture where entertainers are the most important thing in Black America. That last election had Kamala won, the minstrel culture in Black America would have won. She doesn't talk like a Bob Robert Smith, whatever like that. She won't talk like she didn't talk to David Stewart, both billionaires, whatever like that. She brought in Steve Harvey. She brought in Plies, the rapper Plies. She brought in Megan Thee Stallion, She brings in Cardi B, Beyonce. You see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So like I said, this minstrel culture still exists in Black America, right? And like I said, I understand the minstrel culture is dominating Black politics and everything. But as far as the Black nationalist Pan-African movement, I'm determined to destroy it, I'm determined to destroy that any sort of symbols of that culture in our movement, And it starts when I hear somebody like O'Shea talking recklessly about Bomani, That right there to me is an act of war, Because you're bringing that minstrel culture. It's bad enough that Black politics in America are completely destroyed. We got people like Jasmine Crockett as a freaking legitimate congressman, Maxine Waters, Al Green, all this kind of stupid nonsense and everything. That passes for a serious Black politics in America, When you talk to Black people, you don't ask them policies. You get up there and say that you're going to bring some hot sauce, right? And some collard greens and whatnot. She called Miles about her collard greens and her hot sauce, and she smoked weed in college and whatnot. This is what I'm talking about. That basically, and she's sitting there talking to Roland Martin and Al Sharpton and stuff like that. So I'm saying to myself, that's what Black America's come to.
Let me ask you a question.
What?
Okay. So the point is solid. I'm not going to argue against that point. That's clear. So, but here's the question: do the white supremacists use comedy like a reverse minstrel? Do they use humor and comedy to attack the Africans?
Well, the bottom line,
is it a strategy? I want to examine the possibility of the minstrelness being a strategy.
Of course, they've been doing that from day one. Anytime they basically want to control Black people, right? They always use entertainers and whatnot, And like I said, I remember there was an episode of a TV show called What's Happening. You remember that?
I heard about it.
Okay, it was a TV show that came out in the 70s called What's Happening, right? Rod Drewer and Dwayne, right? Well, one episode really stuck in my head, right, when I was a kid, right? It was an episode where Rod was in the hospital, right? And he was right next to, in the hospital, against a Black man who was sick. And come to find out, this guy was a member of the Negro Leagues, right? And he was a member of the Negro Leagues, right? Well, it was interesting, this conversation that happened, right? And with the canned laughter and everything, stuff like this, the applause.
I understand. Yeah.
Anyway, what happened was the guy, the nurse in the hospital, right, was his daughter. And
was the Black guy's daughter?
What?
Whose daughter? The nurse.
The guy's daughter, right?
Right.
And
was it a Black guy?
He was a Black man,
Yeah, okay.
And he hasn't seen his daughter in years, right? And little D, like they always use children, right? D asked him, "Why haven't you seen your daughter?" Because he married a white man. She married a white man, right? And then she goes, "Well, which white man?" And the crowd applaud, So remember, think about what just happened, right? Now, this guy, right, says everything like that. The white man's caused me nothing to pay. The same thing that happened, You know, and that guy, that Venus and Serena's Williams' father.
Oh yeah, yeah,
He said
yeah,
the same thing. I hate the white man. Like, a lot of
yeah,
black men got a lot of anger and legitimate bitterness, you know, that they've been through and shit, you know. But
yeah.
we have a culture we're not allowed to express that. We're always supposed to
Right.
be happy. There's a video going viral. Let me get back to that show. A video going viral right now where this brother is just flipping out, talking about, I'm tired of working and whatnot. He's an old man. He just, I'm tired of working. I'm tired. I'm tired. He's like, no, look, I'm tired. I'm tired of working. In other words, basically, he was like, all this world gave him is a hard fucking life, you know? And he's like, I'm tired of working with it. But the bottom line is there's a lot of black men who go to their grave angry, you know?
Right.
We
And
go,
justly so.
I don't want to freaking go and die an angry black old man, you know? I'm saying what I have to say now, you know? And I don't give a
Right.
damn who
Get it
does
off the chest.
huh? Yeah, I'm getting all this shit off my chest. That's why I'm disappointed in the Afrocentric movement, you know? I'm disappointed in the black political movement in America. I think the Afrocentric movement has become a minstrel show. All this freaking foolishness, you know? There's a Ubuntu foolishness and everything like that.
Yeah, right.
I do not like foolishness, you know?
Yeah.
Anytime
I
I
mean,
see
your show.
people, and I think people are foolish, but keep it away from me, you know?
Right.
So
I agree
anyway,
with that because
back with that show.
okay.
Now I thought about that when I was growing up. I said, "Wait a minute, this guy, he was angry. Then he died, right?" And the lady said he saw they made peace right before he died, right? She goes, "Thank you." They was like, "Thank you." I finally had to say goodbye to my father before he died, you know. But I thought about that, right? Did this guy really? He said he was a Negro league. They researched this thing. He was a famous left fielder in the Negro leagues, right? They put his batting average up there. They're like this. And he said he was a famous player. But the bottom line, he was angry because he faced a lot of racism his whole life. He couldn't get it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and then his wife, and then his daughter go and get married to a white person.
So what I'm saying, I said that when I was a kid, I know the show was telling me don't be racist and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
I saw that when I was like 8, 9 years old, right? And I said, there's something in me said something's not right about that.
That's right.
I said to myself, that guy had every right to be angry, you know?
Right.
Yeah, every right to be angry. But we live in a culture where the dominant society keeps minstrel culture alive, where real black people can't even have real thoughts and real thing. We're not even our own selves anymore. We can't be our own selves because they created a culture of foolishness and everything like that, where we just take everything for a joke and we don't take everything. So yeah, that's a serious thing, you know. I always say like this: to be a person, you have to have agency over your life. That means you're entitled to your beliefs. You're entitled to your prejudices, you know.
So here's
You're entitled to your prejudices, you know. If I'm prejudiced about something or whatnot, that's me, you know. But so long I'm not hurting nobody, whatever, I'm entitled. Some people like I'll say, well, what do you think about gay marriage? I'm not for it, right? If it passed or whatever like that, but I'm not going to call a man a woman a man. I believe there's such thing as a man and woman. That's my agency. That's what I believe. I'm entitled to that.
It's your position.
Yeah. So we live in a world where you're not allowed to have a position anymore. You know, it's what they tell you. You order. That's why I try to tell Baruti when he keeps forcing this Ubuntu down my throat. You know, you can't force somebody to believe in something that they don't believe in. You know.
Right. And this
About showing me how do I benefit from what you're talking about, other than you just telling me I got to do this. I got to do this. You know, I don't have to do anything. You know. So the bottom line is that's what I'm trying to talk about. You know, so people don't want you to freaking think for yourself and come to the thing. Like I said, when I saw that, right, and I know, like you asked about comedy, yeah, they use TV shows and whatnot to because I was like this. That affected millions of black people. Yeah, that's right. But the bottom line is this: if that was reverse, right, and a white guy was up there talking about I don't like black men because when I was a kid, a black man killed my father or not. You know, the bottom line is, you know, you will have a person saying, "Oh, that's not right to be prejudiced and whatnot." But still, though, that would not affect the average white person. The average white person say, don't have anything. We're forced to love white people in America. You know, they said the right thing to do is just love the white man.
Yeah.
And get over your pain. White
That's right.
people
That's right.
with their prejudice or whatever like that, no one tries to correct them.
So here's the question then,
Yeah.
because you've addressed that. So if we start moving into the realm of solutions now approach. So I think you agree with me from that question, that last question, that comedy has a role, has a purpose. So the white people use it. It's just that black people haven't gone past this minstrel. They haven't gone past. So white people use minstrel.
In America, if the end game is America, we're not the masters of this culture and civilization. We're only a reactionary thing. White people know that. 99% of everything black people see in the media, read about, and everything is carefully scripted for by white people. Let me give you an example. I remember when I was a kid, I used to read. My parents bought a set of World Book encyclopedias in the late 70s, right? I read World Book. That's why I know so much about the world, right? I read World Book Encyclopedia from A to Z, right? And then certain patterns I used to see in there, I knew it was like in other words, basically, I saw this one thing on Tokyo, right? It says Tokyo has almost a no crime rate, right? And that's almost bracing myself for what they're going to say next. The reason why Tokyo has such a low crime rate, because unlike America, they have no large minority groups.
Okay.
So as a kid, what was that message telling me?
Yes.
That there's something wrong with me, right?
That's right. That's right.
Now, that was one of many examples that they make sure that goes into my mind and programs me to hate myself, you know?
Yes. 100%.
And so therefore, they control how we see ourselves, what we think about ourselves. That's why you have black people who become black conservatives. They end up hating their own people because they've been programmed to hate their own people. You think there was something. No, not the fact that white people make sure that black communities are neglected and not invested. They don't invest. They don't want anything to do with us and whatnot. They don't know what to do with us. So they want to put us in these communities and whatnot, give us nothing, whatnot, and then sit there ridicules and mark us when we have poverty, crime, and all these other things, and neglected everything like that. They want to hold us responsible for something we didn't create in the first place, because people don't understand we did not ask to be brought here, and they never made a place for us in America. They just basically say you're on your own, and the bottom line, the fact that black people have what they have is a miracle,
Well, I don't know if the white people. I disagree with you there. I don't know if the white people ever said to the black people, "You're on your own," because if you leave black people, and left the black Americans alone to build their own.
Oh, they didn't hold. They say you're on your own, but the bottom line is this: you're never on your own.
Exactly, that's the point I'm trying to make. Yeah, so because they can't afford to leave black people on their own, because they will build something, they'll construct something
when they
that
say
then has to be destroyed.
That means that we're not going to worry about you, whatever like that.
No, they're going to worry.
We're still not going to let you develop, whatever like that.
Exactly. So you never control everything. Never on your own. Never.
We're gonna control everything that goes on in your life. And the thing is like this, and also they got to reach into your community, right? You got to turn on their television, their radio, and everything like that, and you got their propaganda and media through their thing. Like I watch these TV shows and whatnot. If you live in a black person living in a white country and you keep seeing images of white beauty and white excellence, all like, what's that's going to do to your soul
to your head, and the children? Yeah, it's education. Yeah, so it's but they have to do that. Though.
That's why you got sick people in Black America, like those FBA people. They're sick. They hate Africa because they hate themselves.
Yes,
that's what the problem is. They hate Africa because they hate themselves, because they've been programmed by the white media to love white and love America and love all the stuff like this. And they end up hating not only hating Africa, they hate their own community, they hate everything, but they tell themselves that, they're foundational Black America. No, you're not,
But would you agree with me that this self-hate, okay, so you can start to say I'm going crazy. I'm saying, I'm going to make some statements. This self-hate is, let's clarify the words. Okay, a world is not the same thing as a planet. we are on the planet, but a world is a construct. A world is a financial,
We
political.
live in their world.
Good. Okay, hold this point. So I just want to make that clear. They built the world, not the planet, but they built the world. So the world foundation is anti-black, anti-African. That's the construction of the world. Okay. So seeing that we're in their world, I'm not going to argue. We understand that's their construct. They built the building. We're in the building. All right. So now, what is the best strategy? Because some people say we've got to destroy the building, but how can you destroy the building while you're in it? How are you going to destroy the world that you're still living in? That you're chasing the dollar.
It's like this, bro. It's a conundrum. You know.
Yes.
I didn't start this, right? And it is what it is. That's what we're stuck into. Psychologically, all I could do is dream about a world where we control. That's all I could do. But reality is I'm still living in their world one night and probably gonna die in their world. You know, that's the reality. You know, so we can have all the philosophical questions and whatnot, but it really comes down to it, right? Our ancestors, whatever happened in Africa, whatever like that, it should have never happened. Slavery should have never happened, but it did, you know, and we're suffering the consequences of wherever we were 500 years ago. We were not prepared for the white man.
But hold it, Carla. Hold it there. But here's the thing now, where I think I'm going to go clash with you now, is that a world is built on a narrative. So when people talk about, oh, let's get the real world, real, let's get practical. Listen, everything that we conceive as practical and real was built on a story. It's built on a minstrel show. So so it has to be a show. It has to be unreal. It's the unreal that builds the real. It's a narrative. It's a control of the narrative. Just like you were just saying, those books, those magazines that you were reading, that the school children are reading, right? They are controlling the narrative, the story, the unreal before it becomes real. Because if they don't control education and all these things, those children will start to grow up with their own ideas and build their own reality. So in order to stop Black people and to stop African people constructing their own reality, they have to create a story, a minstrel show, a white supremacist story, narrative. So it's all about controlling the narrative. And the clearest way to that, whilst you're chasing the dollar, the value. So all those Africans coming to America or trying to get the dollar, they're not realizing that the value in the dollar is generated by narratives. It's generated by minstrel shows. That's what puts the value in the naira. Sorry, in the dollar, in contrast to the naira. But here's the conundrum that you're saying. So the Africans are chasing the dollar, the American dollar, but the Black people in America, they're just they are part of the value in the dollar. They need it. So, but it's two different perspectives. The Africans are saying, oh, these Americans, they've lost their mind. They've lost their identity. They're fools. But yet all the Black Americans have got the dollar. They've got the money. And the Africans are chasing it. But they like the dollar, but they don't want the American values. It doesn't work. As long as you're chasing the dollar, you are chasing American values, because that's part of the value of the dollar. But a lot of Africans, they're not catching on to that. And from the Black side now, the Black American side, they want their fair share of the dollar. They built the value in the dollar, and they're still increasing the value of the dollar. So they're saying, well, where is our share of this world that we built, that was built in our blood. So there's a scream for reparations. Whilst the Africans will say, "Oh, you're still slaves and you still want reparations." We Africans, we got our name, we got our tribe. We're not begging for reparations. We're just out to make money, but they're chasing the dollar.
Yeah, but the bottom line is Africa needs reparation because the bottom line is there ain't shit coming from that. Anyway, IC3, nice. I'm gonna play some videos tonight. I'm not gonna really do a long show tonight. I'm gonna. Thanks for coming on. I gotta play some videos.
Thank you.
First meet of the BAIO. Very first meet, folks. This is our very first meet and greet. Let's play this.
Revolutionary camp, and yes, family, always RBG to the T. And I'm really just representing our red, black, green, and gold operation for nation building and revolution. I'm here with my good brothers and sister from the Black African Infrastructure Organization. We're here in Atlanta, Georgia, and as you can see, it's all RBG energy. The only difference is this is a united front where we have all these wonderful black organization, operation, and business that we're looking to connect together so we can have a more of a united front operation on the African continent. And for those who really want to sustain America and keep on doing the things that we've been doing for the last 100 years, hey, stay here and do it and get it done right so our people have a place in America to live. Because the reality of it is we definitely have to get into the game on the African continent. Absolutely. And when we talk about building black infrastructure, that's 100% of the most important thing on the African continent. Road, bridges, building, communities, and so on. And as we talked about a lot of things, and I tell people that whenever we shoot these videos, we don't ever record everything. So there's a lot of things that we didn't share with the intro video. So you want to fill, both of you want to fill in with everyone about all of the different things that we talked on and touch bases with.
Now Taxes is a TurboTax expert, doing everything while you do your thing.
Yeah, Jonathan, I'll let you go first.
Okay, yeah, really, this is the beginning of the grassroots of our organizing as an organization. This is the first time we met up as a group in person, and it was putting faces to names. And as we said earlier, that's, that goes without being said, that's of utmost importance. The next things that we kind of talked about is, where do we want to go from here? Mm-hmm. We talked about, some of the questions that people had about the Black African Infrastructure Organization. What are some of its goals, our expected target? This is just really the whole rumblings of organizing. This is where it really begins. So
yeah, absolutely. So it's been amazing traveling to come here to Georgia, all the way from Alaska, to meet the Georgia chapter, to meet my brothers and sisters, and see how when we come together, just the ideas that come together with us, and we all want the same thing. We all want land, infrastructure, and nationhood on the continent of our ancestors. We want to be on African continent. We want to control the context of our environment. We want to be able to control our schools, our politics, our policies, our laws, all of that. So we want that. We want Black freedom, and it's not going to happen here in the United States. I just don't see it happening. So I appreciate the BAIO for connecting us and bringing a collective group of people, like-minded, who want the same thing, want to be on the continent, want to build, and to bring us together, and let's make it happen. That's what we're here for.
Absolutely, family, and that's what it is. And we're going straight to the point. So for those out there that are looking to see what the solution is you have two options. You can stay in America and fight and build what we need to build for our brothers and sisters, or you can join us in the movement of Pan-Africanism on the continent as we build these communities and build these countries and be a part of the missing piece of the future of the African people in Africa and the diaspora. It's just our energy in Black America. When you think about the high-skilled people who have the resources that can do things, a lot of us here have those things, and that's why, brother, I always talk about core group of leadership. Yes. I talk about military mafia-style operation where, you have leadership running those things, and you see the difference. You have to put a head on a snake and lead it with some guidance. But at the same time, too, when we talk about leadership, it's not one or two people. It's spread out to where you can never fight. these white devils can never trap all of us.
Yeah.
So as long as we have more and more of us on the same page and we're doing the work that needs to be done, there's nothing but the solution from there to come. So I know sometimes we have some of our own people that don't see and don't feel it, and they look at what previous generation have done. But I always talk about that we can never expect any one generation to fix fix all of the problems completely. Like you talk about Garvey. Garvey was one of the greatest energy.
Absolutely.
Garvey left enough work for us to done, and I appreciate that he didn't do everything by himself and you and I at that time. But it's like everything that we have seen from his mistake, his honor, to his organized setup, we see that we can learn from it and truly build onto it. And that's what we have to really do. Like right now, we're in a generation where, we're the ones that's working in these jobs. We have the military background. We have all of these things. So it's like we can just cut out the middleman. And like right now, I don't need the military or the airlines for me to teach my child how to be an aircraft technician or any of the skills and things that I've learned. So when we work in these jobs and when we invest in these careers, we have to think of the fact that we need to learn everything in those skill set, and because every single one of it is what we need. And then we go to Ghana, you hear about Ghana Airways, a shame. Nigeria Airways, or Nigeria Air, a shame. I mean, it's like, aviation is one of the most important part of our world. And the fact, when I look at this, Ethiopian Airlines being one of the few Black-owned airlines, Black power operation on the entire continent, or just in the Black world, it's a shame. We should at least have several countries just like Ethiopia to do those things. So when I talk about this infrastructure, yes, we as a people in the Black African diaspora have those, but unfortunately, we need more connection on the African continent, and we need more of our dedicated brothers and sisters that repatriate to be down with the movement for life. It can't be something where I'm going to move to Ghana and then I'm going to, I found a way I can just get all kind of money from the Black people in America. No, that's not your job to exploit the rest of us. Your job is to make sure that you put things in place and lay it out for us to where we can grow and build together. Because I tell people, I'm not living nowhere where we have a mansion and everybody else is poor. We all have to rise together. That's one of the biggest issues that we have with, when we talk about like Liberia and Sierra Leone, that unbalanced energy. So wherever we go, it's all about community. So one of the things that I came up with a good solution, and my sisters agree with it. I was telling my sister here that we have to marry into the culture.
Absolutely.
And so my sister's like, you got some good brothers for me? I was like, I got none but good brothers on the continent.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to diss my brothers here, but manhood is at the all-time low in Black America. Manhood is at the all-time low in Black America. And a lot of other things. And when you talk about our sisters, sometimes some of them don't get it here, but I tell people that the solution for the ones of us that are so Pan-African and internation building is for us to marry into the revolution on the continent. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, let's go. Pan-Africanism naturally.
Yeah.
You're going to think about that. We live in a community where our children are being raised together. I mean, what kind of value are they going to have? They're going to have nothing but straight Black power energy. Yep. And we have never seen an evolution where you have this number of children growing up in a society to where they learn these things. And everything that they've been told from a childhood is that they are being groomed for leadership and taking responsibility. I think about those evil, wicked white devils, the Rothschild. That damn devil got 5 children, send them all over Europe to dominate the damn world. And I'm not saying it was that simple, but that's the mindset that we have to have. We have to prop up our generations.
Absolutely. No, plan for the next generation. They are the future. And I agree with him 100%.
Right.
I will be on that African continent finding Mr. Right, and then we're going to build together.
Exactly, because I've been here for 40 years, and it ain't
that meshing.
And I'll tell you this, I tell people, after 1 or 2 years, hey, you're nation building already. You already have a few children in Africa. Especially if you're a man and you have like 2 or 3 wives.
All right.
But I mean, because I think about it, it's like some of us, you're 40, maybe you have 1 child. It's like you already lost like 10 years, so you got catching up to do. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it goes to where you're literally grooming a future race of children that's the blood of our ancestors on the continent in Africa. And you think about what kind of
Yes, they were happy. We put together.
If you own a home, you're at risk of house stealing. With house stealing, cyber criminals can take out loans against your home.
I hate freaking commercials. Swear to God.
kind of child that's gonna produce.
Yeah, we were
That's
really
right. Child
The
sees
Pan-African,
you.
that's all about it.
Absolutely. And child sees you building infrastructure, getting
Right.
involved with the community.
Yeah, he phased out all the
positive.
coons just like that. You have
Absolutely.
a
There you
generation of
go.
coons that die out.
There you go.
This is what I'm talking about. At that time, this was back in 2018. We were on fire. This BAO was the organization, man. And we're gonna see the next one. Dinah Samir was there. Had that meeting and whatnot. A lot of important people were there and stuff like that. So I couldn't make it. I was down in Atlanta. I could not make it, but I was there in spirit. They was talking to me. I was talking to Bomani and Dinus on the phone while I was going on and stuff like that. I was giving them my support and everything like that. I was there in spirit. But the bottom of this was our first meet and greet. See, they got their BAO shirts. Narette and Jonathan got their BAO shirt on, representing the BAO. These were our young people. These are our freshmen. These are new members. They basically said they saw the social network. They saw the mission. They saw about land infrastructure nationhood. They talked about building a new reality in the context of our building something new in the context of our own reality. That's the only way we could do it. And the idea of building the Afghanistan or territories that we control our politics and everything like that. Yeah, that's because we had educated people. The people who joined the BAO were just some people that came out of nowhere. These were educated people. Jonathan right here, he went on a few months later and got his degree in civil engineering. Narette travels. She was a nurse, going to be a doctor. She married a Rwandan. She put the first group to Rwanda together. So we basically were on fire, and I was tasked with starting the Angola Liberia connection. That's what my goal was, right? And so this is the BAIO, the beginning, when we really launched. This is when we really blew up. 2018. We was doing good until this Luke Major situation came along. All right, so Crayola, what's on your mind? We'll get back to the video. So what's on your mind, brother?
I'm just watching your video, just try to see what you're doing. And you hearing me?
Yeah, I hear you. Go ahead.
Kara, we have to be honest, is no matter what these diasporas, I call diasporas now, they will turn against Africans later when it's not going good with them.
That's why we need our own space. That's why, we need our own space. As simple as
Kara,
that.
Kara, look.
And the bottom line is, look, what we're asking for, we're not asking. We're going to take what's really ours,
Kara,
so whether it's going to be peaceful or whatever, it's going to happen. So,
Kara, you cannot create a space in Africa. Africa is too full to create a space.
No, it's not too cool. We'll just have to kill some people then. How about that?
Every
So how about this? Hold up. Okay, we can get rid of some of you then. How about that?
You can't do it, Kara, because
why not? Why not? If you say it's too full, maybe it's
Kara,
too many of you.
You are too scared. You are too scared to. Kara, have you ever seen Africa civil war?
Yeah, we know Africa. I've been there. You're full of shit. The bottom line is this. The bottom line is we got black people from all over going continent, whatever like that. We're building here in America. We're building all over the world. Black America is going all over the world. We're in Cuba. We're in freaking Dominican Republic. We're in South America. We're in Brazil. We're all over. We're in Canada. We're all over the freaking planet. We're in Australia. So what are you talking about? What do you want to do? Back and do nothing?
Kara. You can go to Dominican Republic, have good time there, build there.
No, that's another thing. This is another thing. See what you just said? A good time there. That's what I'm talking about, this minstrel culture. We're not going to a place to have a good time. We're going to places to build.
Why don't you build in Colombia then?
They say we're building. Hold on, we're building. We got black communities in Colombia. You got brothers buying land and building farms and everything in Colombia. What are you talking about?
Yeah, Colombia
we're not playing.
Colombia is very big, Carla.
What?
Colombia is
we don't care how big it is. We got people who are building networks and building infrastructure in Colombia. As simple as that. So we're not there playing games. We're not. You guys. That's the thing. The African mind is so foolish. You're gonna have a good time. We're not here to go to a place and have a good time. We're going to freaking take over, see what we can get out of it. We're like anybody else.
Kala, do you know about General Butt Naked?
Who cares about butt naked? I see him. I put my foot up his ass. How about that? When I'm in, check this out, Kidola. This is what happened. Let me tell you something. I got a house in Liberia now. You understand? I have a house in Liberia, a nice house in Liberia, right? Anyway, it's a gated community, whatever, like that, right? One night, the freaking security guard had his laptop on. He blasted the music, right? It's 12 o'clock at night, so I had to go and get a freaking scratch card for my internet, right? So my driver took me to the store, right? And I said to the guy, I said, when I come back here, you're going to turn that music off, right? Real like this, like that. And guess when I came back, that music was off, right? Now the whole security team there, they could have fucking said, fuck you without that. But I'm like this. When I'm in Africa, when I'm in Liberia, I'm running shit, you know? That's the way I am.
Kala, you assume.
What?
You assume you're running the shit.
Well, I am running shit, you know? I am running shit, you know? I don't give a fuck. Like I said, you have this idea. See, we're not like you. We're not cowards like Africans are.
Kala,
we're brave.
Kala.
Africans, look, let me tell you, you got that scary ass African mentality. We're gonna go anywhere we want to. We dare anybody to do anything. You know, that's the way I am. I walk around Liberia at night, whatever,
Kala,
like that.
Kala, your few people that went to Ghana and Gambia, they cry for cookies.
Well, yeah, those are old women. Like I said, Kidola, those are old ass people, old ass women and whatnot. I'm bringing strong, young black men, strong men to the freaking continent with me. You know, me and Bomani, we're strong men. You know, and when we together, when we did that tour together, we have a formidable group. And Kidola, let me tell you something. Between African Americans and Africans, we're stronger than you people are.
No.
Well, yes, we are. We're stronger than you. We're strong. We're tougher. Look, we're tougher. Well, Kidola, we're tougher, stronger, and more violent than you are.
No.
I'm serious. We're tougher, stronger, and more violent than you are. We got nothing to worry about. We got nothing to worry about from Africans. You know,
Kala, they're like P Diddy. They're like P Diddy.
We're not like P Diddy, man. As I said, you know, all you know is these freaking celebrities. Like I said,
no, because
every time you keep mentioning entertainment, you're participating in the minstrel culture.
No.
That does not. Look, P Diddy, Shaquille O'Neal does not represent Black America. You know, you don't know the real Black America, bro.
Kala, since Black America started coming to Africa, the promotion of LGBT.
That ain't Black America. That ain't Black America. Those are people who are sent over there. The real Black nationals are Pan-Africans. See these three right here? My brother Jonathan Hill and the red. And when Jonathan Hill got a wife in Ghana, she has a husband in Rwanda, you know? And that's Bomani right there. We're going there building. We got businesses in Africa. You know, this is what I cultivated over the years. You know,
Kala, we have to.
We're not. So we're not. So
you people.
I don't want to hear nothing about no LGBTQ because nobody in my camp or whatever like that is bringing there. So if you got a problem with the LGBTQ, you got to talk to the people who's bringing it there.
Kala, we need to check you people before you started coming to Africa to do.
Oh, we already told you have no. Look, let me say something, right?
We want to do
check us out. Africa does not belong to you. You know.
Hold
on. When you guys basically do something about the Lebanese, the European, then you talk to us. You know, you got the Chinaman all over friggin' West Africa, illegal mining and doing some of everything. They're probably in Nigeria right now, stealing your oil, right? Your fishing grounds. They're raping your fishing grounds, stealing your oil, stealing everything from you. And you worrying about checking Black America, man? Shit out, Kidola.
We need to check.
You need to do. What you need to do is check those fucking Chinese, Lebanese, everybody else. Just robbing you blind. That's what you need to check.
Kala, we need to check you if you put that part of PDD.
Oh yeah. Well, how about this, Kidola? Before you start checking, when you start checking, why don't you start with the Lebanese, the Indians, the white men, the Englishmen, and all these other people that's robbing you fucking blind? Why don't you start checking them? The people that's abusing your women.
With those
okay, Kidola. Oh, it's so good with them because they're white and whatnot. The white man's God and whatnot. I'm a Nigerian. The white man's God and whatnot. So the white people never come with LGBT. I don't know. It's the white people bringing the LGBTQ over there, and not us.
Since the Black America started going to
Look, it
Ghana,
ain't the Black Americans. The LGBTQ has been coming to Africa for generations before
since the
Black
Black
Americans
America
started coming
started
at.
going to
It's
Ghana,
not it's not the Black
the
people in America
LGBT
bringing
flag
that.
show up in Ghana.
I gotta remove you. Get off my show. Get off my show. Get out of here. I don't want to hear it. Ain't no Black people in America. I'm not gonna sit here and go back and forth with bullshit. If you got proof, then you bring proof up here. The next words out of your mouth should be, I got receipts. I got video evidence and whatnot. That's why I'm sick and tired of people coming on these shows just running their fucking mouth about anything. This is what I'm talking about. No proof, no nothing. Black America is just Black America is like this. Black America is not bringing no LGBTQ there. Dr. Cambone ain't bringing no damn LGBTQ there. But I'm not bringing no LGBT. Who the hell is he talking about? The people who's bringing the LGBTQ there are freaking white people, white Americans, and French and all these other people from the Netherlands where that shit is prominent. That's not prominent in Black culture. Yeah. So I ain't gonna let somebody sit up here. I'm so sick and tired of people slandering our people and that. It's just envious and jealousy. That's all it is. All these people do is sit there and obsess over us all day, and they're jealous of Black America. That's what it is. This guy keep being jealous. I don't care anymore. We go to Africa, I'll go to Liberia, I do what the hell I want to do, and I damn think anybody can do about it, So you see, nasty ass Zulu start talking down on the Zulu parade and ball. I don't know about that, Marcus. Why don't you call in and tell me about it? I don't know nothing about that. I don't know nothing about that. But yeah, folks. So I'm gonna finish playing this video.
And with all the old heads, it ain't about revolution.
That was our discussion today. We kind of talked about, we hit on the fact that we are living in a society right now in a context where the producer Negroes at the rapid rate.
Negroes
at the rapid rate.
Negro manufacturing machine. That is America.
Exactly. So we have to have our own machine, our own mechanism
to produce
functional
high quality African diaspora, all of it, just pure African.
And then
bring it back to that.
Also by just owning a Black business in itself, by having a community garden in itself, by having your own African center school in itself, it's not going to do anything in a cesspool. We need to be able to have our own context that we own and control from top to bottom.
Yep.
So that things won't be contaminated.
Exactly. One of the main things is it's like who teaches the majority of our children from birth all the way up to the university, the system.
Absolutely.
Right. And that's one of the things that we drastically changed. Because I tell people, the people that's going to be teaching our children is us. Who is better in your field? Who's better in any of our fields?
What's going on, Marcus? Marcus, are you on?
Yeah. How you doing?
What's going on?
I'm
But
good.
see, this is our first meeting of the Black African Infrastructure Organization.
When was this?
This was 2018.
All right.
Bomani hosted our first, him and Dynas hosted our first meeting, It was a serious organization, man. We were on fire, man. BAL is supposed to be tens of thousands of members. We're supposed to be building the Afghanistan right now. 6 years later, but years later, I get sidetracked by the fucking O'Shea Duke Jacksons and the fucking Lou Major, all these other clowns that came along. Social media produces clowns, man. I swear to God, like Kid Ola, fucking clown shit, people just running in their mouth, talking off their ass and whatnot, Elvises and whatnot, So bottom line is that shit going on. I'm gonna straighten this shit out, once and for all.
Did he? I saw some video. I thought he apologized to y'all or some shit. Oh shit!
I don't know. I ain't hear nothing about that.
All right. Yeah.
I ain't hear nothing about that. Bottom line is this, man. He started something he can't finish.
It's your own people that want to start war. I want to start confrontation with you.
Yeah, we're the wrong people to start shit with.
I would expect somebody y'all both have interest in Africa, y'all will come together and bridge.
He ain't got no interest now. He's there just as fucking, like I said, he's a fucking Sambo culture. You cannot look, this is what I'm talking about tonight. Anybody who's a Sambo in the minstrel culture and whatnot, like O'Shea is, they're not serious about shit. Everything is fun and games to them. That's why he just talks out of his mouth, because it's another fun and game gossip shit he's doing, But there's real fucking implications when you start implicating somebody and accusing somebody of something. There's real implications right now, because I guess he didn't expect this friggin' backlash right here. He was not expecting. He was not expecting it. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, what's good evening, Kyla? How you doing, Kyla?
We
Man?
think about this first video. This is our first meet and greet with mine back in 2018.
Where was the location?
That was in Atlanta. See, they got the BAO logo shirts on.
All right, okay.
But mine guys,
Yeah,
African.
What's up? What's up? Yo,
organization.
I was listening to the show last night about the Pan African Minstrel show.
Yeah,
and I didn't know O'Shea was going in like that with you, man.
Oh yeah, man. The bottom line is this: you
I
don't
didn't know
contact me
where the smoke coming from, man. Where
because the bottom line, he's a fucking little jealous, little ugly troll, and he fucking hates himself. He hates black people.
I didn't know it was that severe.
I always knew this.
Man.
I was just bide my time. I was being patient with O'Shea for years, but I heard him say some shit over the years that I never really checked him. He just talks a lot of shit or not, especially about black people, Black America, And so basically, somebody that comes from the gutters, he's like, come from the fucking gutters. His father was a crackhead and whatnot, drug dealer, drug user, whatever like that, And so basically, he grew up in a real rough. He had a real rough life growing up. Dinus, they came from the same era, but Dinus had a little bit more,
Yeah.
And so O'Shea grows up there. When you think of O'Shea, even like Brandy, it's like you can tell somebody grew up in California. They think every last single black community is gang infested in the hood. I said, dude, you gotta come to the eastern United States. This is the oldest settlements of Black America.
Like I said, they I noticed something about, from the West Coast, they got a different attitude.
They're the weakest link. They're the weakest link.
And the
Black
Midwest
Americans, they're the weakest link.
Yeah,
the Midwest. You said the Midwest too.
Yeah, Midwest and the West right there. Like,
yeah.
It's like shit, man. Like
the gang culture. They got gang banging cultures and shit.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
It is the gang banging culture. When I said, look, New York, we have gangs and stuff
so
like
we
that.
more we older, we more culture. We saying we more about industrial. We more industrial.
If I say y'all keep taking shots at Cali,
it's true. It's true, Mufasa. Y'all let Mexicans run y'all. Mexicans run y'all.
Seaports.
I've been saying that about Cali for years. He keeps never to say that, man. Like the bottom line is this: there's something. Look, back in the days, Mufasa, right? I had tried to have this conversation with my California brothers, man. And I had understood them. They were like, "Yeah, man, Kyle, you don't understand, man. I had to grow up in the Bloods." I see this one video, man, where the family was Bloods, right? The Crips, right? The mama, the grandmama, and everything like that. She buried 2 sons and whatnot. She had all the people around the gang. They was, we're gonna give them a scum away, and they buried the nigga in the fucking Crips outfit on and whatnot. You seen that shit, right? And the mother's out there. You think she'd be like, "Yeah, we gotta stop all that." She's like, "I'm ready for blowback and whatnot." She's a gang member. You got the mother, the grandma, all fucking Crips. I'm like, damn, man. That's what you call it. Like California is a different story, man. I'm like, damn, man. But that's what I'm not gonna mock the California because whatever it is, they basically that's their culture, whatever it is.
Yeah. They crack babe. They crack babe. That's what that is. For real.
I don't know
that's where crack first landed at. No, listen, that's where crack first landed at. They fucked up their whole thing. They messed up everything.
I think it's probably deeper than crack because
not Cali.
Crack in New York,
man.
But
I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna give you history lesson. So the blacks that went to Cali, they actually had money back in the day. Like if you look up, they had money. They came from Texas and Louisiana and shit. They had money. But the thing is, after like in the 70s, 80s, when that crack came in the gang banging, they didn't slide at each other. And they fucked up the whole thing.
What I figured out was black community in California was a victim of kind of the richest state in the country. Black people were victims of their own success. So in other words, you have this lifestyle, right? Where everybody got cars, everything like that, money, everything like that. But there's the only way you could maintain that lifestyle is the streets. You see what I'm saying? We ain't like the East Coast or Detroit or something like that, where you could have a good lifestyle working at a freaking Ford plant, and stuff like that. So that's what happened in California. That's how that culture It was all right to
The
be
gang banging,
a gangster or whatnot, you know. And the
gangsters,
bottom line is like,
the
if you being
pimps.
a gangster, you were. It was like having a freaking CEO. Your
Yeah,
dad is a banker. My
yeah.
dad was a drug dealer. You know, that was
They
normal
they
to them.
extort their own people. They
Yeah.
extort
Oh
their own
yeah. Oh
people.
yeah. The bottom line, street
Yeah.
taxes.
Big U.
Yeah,
I
street
never fly where
taxes
I'm
and
at.
whatnot. Yo, you know, in New York, how long you think Big U would last? Be trying
He
to sell.
wouldn't last.
Man, they gonna be dead and thrown in the Rockaway Bay River
Well,
over
man, he wouldn't last a day.
in New York.
He wouldn't last a day
Don't
where I'm
let
at.
anybody come in there and stuff like that. Somebody come on the subway, right? Where you think you're
Yeah,
safe, you know? Then blip, 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 and then he's back in who knows where. By the time he gets to that subway, he's gone. You know,
he
that's
wouldn't
New York.
last a day.
He wouldn't last a fucking day in New York, man.
Just
Shit,
anywhere down south, East Coast, you just wouldn't last a day. All that gang banging on. Hell no.
that shit
Nah,
don't
you
work
won't
on the East
last.
Coast, man.
Won't last a
Fuck 'em.
day.
They ain't messing with that. You know.
Because he's
So
gonna try to come through and bulldoze. He's gonna try to come through and
They're
bulldoze.
bullied, yeah.
Yeah.
But they need to start the Mexicans that
did you
took
hear
over the
Kinola talking about the black people in America, fucking, but the LGBTQ? That's why I had to get him
Yo,
off the
I
show.
heard that. Yo, why you lying like that?
I
Why
said,
you
that, see,
lying like that?
right now, see, I'm not like Diners. I'm gonna let people sit there and just talk. Look, for
But
now
why
on,
you
the
lie
things
like
I'm
that?
gonna get you
He
out of here.
really
You
don't.
know,
He really don't know African American, Black American. He really don't know.
yo, look, I'm like this. You
We got a
got
lot of
Over
we got a
Molly,
lot of country
Cambone,
people out here, man. We got a lot of
Diners. You got Bomani. You got some strong black people going to the continent. They ain't bringing no LGBTQ there. You know, so the bottom line is this. So
most of the black people that's interested in the continent, they like Pan Africans or
yeah,
it's some type
they
of
ain't thinking
conscious
about no
movement.
damn.
They're not thinking about no LG. That's
So
crazy.
Joe was talking a bunch of smack, but yeah, like I said, this was our first meeting. I've had nothing. I got another one. I think this next one, but mine sent me Dinosaurs on.
I'm turned off with the app. I'm on social media. I'm tired of all that the back and forth, the diaspora wars. I'm getting kind of turned off by the motherfucker.
Yeah, it is. So that's
Yeah.
why I said I just when I see it
I'm getting-
online, right? I just basically just scroll right past it. I don't get involved with it no more. I'm sick of
getting
ADOS. Yay, I'm sick of Africans. But the thing is, look, I don't want to hear what you guys say. If you're coming to America, shut the fuck up.
I'm getting turned off. Yeah. I mean, the South Africans, y'all probably don't know about the Zulu ball or the Zulu parade, but
What
they
happened?
talking down on that. The South Africans, because the Zulu ball, Zulu parade, it's a black Mardi Gras group that was created in the early 1900s. We've been doing it for almost over 100 years. The South Africans get mad because we call it the Zulu ball and Zulu parade, but we pay homage, and they get mad at us.
Basically, where does it happen at?
Huh?
It happens in New Orleans.
Yeah. And they get mad that we practicing that. And I'm on social media. I said, man, they paying homage because we couldn't. It was segregated. That's why we pay homage. But
Yeah,
I don't know.
we had New York. In New York City, we had the Zulu Nation. What you call it? Bifasa, we had no organization. Yo, we had black gangs in here. We had the Seven Crowns. We had the Spades. But those people died out in the 70s. They really died out, you know? And they were replaced by hip hop crews and just neighborhood crews. They were still tough,
it's not no gang. The Zulu ball is like it's a social club.
Well, I know, yeah. Same thing I say. On the East Coast, we have secret societies.
Okay. Y'all do?
We have, yeah. Oh, yeah. In America, Black America has secret society. You ever seen the movie Let's Do It Again?
I ain't know
you ever seen the movie Let's Do It Again?
No.
See, that's what I say. You gotta learn movies. Some movies you gotta watch. Bill Cosby's City Portier, right? Black people got Shriners clubs, Mason clubs, the Prince Hall Masons. We have all these things. Secret societies exist, particularly in Eastern United States. The Crowds, the Odd Fellows, and all these things. You know, we had the King's Lodge. My parents were part of the King's Lodge in upstate New York. That was a black-owned lodge and society. You know, that was tied to the NAACP and whatnot. So we had all kinds of little secret organizations and society. They weren't gangs, but we didn't have no organization. Yeah, we did have organizations, but just we had organizations that did constructive shit, you know,
that build community and everything.
That build communities and whatnot.
Help out with the community. They didn't destroy their shit like the Bloods, you know.
Yeah, the Bloods on. They made their community.
They destroyed their shit. Yeah,
we turned our communities into fucking little awaits. Like you go to places like the Palisades area in New York, Nyack and whatnot. Those are nice black communities at one time, you know. You go to Islip, Long Island, Central Islip, Long Island. Those are nice black. Sag Harbor. That whole Northeast area. We had a lot of nice black enclaves. Mount Vernon. We had a lot of nice black.
I heard about Mount Vernon. I heard about Mount Vernon.
Mount Vernon, nice. Mount Vernon, nice.
Mount Vernon, nice. You know? So we like this, you know. No, Mufasa, crime in New York is nothing like California. Now it is because you got a lot of immigrants, and you got a lot. You know, in New York, crime is a bunch of people coming from Philly, Newark, you know, and the South moving to New York. These people that you see crime, you know, if you know anything about New York, right, Dave? These aren't New Yorkers. You know, real New Yorkers, you know.
No, these guys are not New Yorkers.
These guys are New Yorkers. These people coming from the islands, coming from the South.
Most of these are people. Let's be honest. These people are immigrants.
Immigrants or people come from the South,
out of state, and they're just blending in, and you know,
right? We know anybody from New York, Mufasa. We know real New Yorkers. You know, the real New Yorkers are very sophisticated in the way we like. We're not fucking street and ghetto.
They're not allowed like them island ones. Huh?
No, we're not allowed. But not New York people.
Them Jamaican ones.
We call uptown. When we went to Harlem, you were going uptown. You had to dress your best. You know, particularly on Sunday. Yeah. Because you were going uptown, you know. That's where white people go. The fancy black people driving nice Cadillacs, you know.
Saint Nick,
that was Harlem. You had black men that was so sharp, man.
I like Harlem.
Balling up there, bro.
Yeah, Harlem, man. Men used to drive sharp back in the days, you know. Women had their little their church hats on. Everybody was wearing white.
Even going to church, you got
everybody looked the part, man.
Now everybody wearing bonnets and shit. Yeah,
everybody pajamas. Now people walk down the street in their
pajamas,
bathrobe and pajamas. Like there's a whole culture. Like I said, the minstrel culture is taking back over. You know, the minstrel culture is taking back over. And you know why the minstrel culture is social media. All this minstrel shit that we got rid of, we fought.
It came back.
It came back to social media.
10 times worse.
Yeah,
blonde hair.
Now we can't get up here. When you got people out here talking about, like this lady was in the chat room earlier, I'm American. She said Europeans are Americans.
Yo, Kala, I never thought about that. What you just said, man.
Look, that's why when I got online, I call myself the college genesis, the culture critic.
Yo, they put in the minstrel show on social media.
Yeah,
that was worse.
And so
it's just like Bamboozle. Yeah, I watched Bamboozle.
And now you got people. That's not even worse of it. Now you got people in the Pan African world or the minstrel. You know, now they're bringing a minstrel to Africa. Look, O'Shea's got Kunganda channel. You know, a minstrel show in Africa now. You know, next thing you know, you're gonna see O'Shea up there with his cane. And it's put the red lipstick on and doing the buck dance and whatnot, you know. So there's no stop. What can we do? You know, social media is dating. Before the NAACP got rid of they got Amos and Andy shut down. You know, they got all that shit shut down. The blackface dances, all that shit like that disappeared because we fought against the demeaning stuff or that. Now all that stuff is risk coming back. You know.
You bring that minstrel shit to Africa, you know they're gonna make that bitch 20 times worse.
Yeah,
you know they got that white Jesus mindset. You're about the king is throwing them black people. Talking about it was a black Jesus.
I didn't like the whole story, but
they sick. There's some sick shit going on.
Yeah, but still, even though, man, you don't go to a country and just start starting shit. That's a
carefully. You gotta tread carefully with that.
Yeah, but you don't talk about religion in Africa, man. You just don't do it. You know, America, like we can have our discussion. Like the Hebrew guys should be on the street going to curse the people out and shit like that.
You know, we leave them alone. We hand them back and forth, and that's it. But not in Africa. They're gonna get violent.
Africa, man, nigga, machete's gonna come out. You know, that's what it is.
Stones. They're gonna start throwing stones. They're gonna start throwing shoes. They'll start throwing everything at you, man.
Let me get Dark Migo on. Dark Migo, what's on your mind, bro? African guys said homosexual. Yeah, we know homosexuality is everywhere. It's always going to be there. But what we're saying is it don't have to be celebrated. In other words, basically, I want to be able to do a show without
African guys.
Somebody buzzing in my show saying, "Kala, fair use. You got to freaking show let a homosexual speak or show."
We don't need no punks. We don't need no punks.
That's what's coming.
African guys. Why are you defending them? Why you black
because
women
that's what they
defending them?
do. They bring people to the West, brainwash them, and
Shit.
tell like we know that it exists, but don't have to be legitimized. That's what we're talking about.
It's all in your face now. It's all in your face.
You shouldn't
All
have
that
to.
little.
You have no right to have a flag. You have no right to change my opinion of what gender is. Right? You're gonna tell me that there's more than one gender. I don't believe that. You got this Ketanji Jackson, the Supreme Court justice, that idiot Biden, but she's an absolute buffoon. This lady's a buffoon. I can't tell you what a woman is. I'm like, this lady's a fucking idiot, and she was put on the Supreme Court, and black women are celebrating. A minstrel show. She was like buck dancing up there talking about I don't know what. I'm like, oh my god, and all because they want to appease one little group of people. You want to alter what everybody for thousands of years know is there's a man and there's a fucking woman. Men have a fucking penis, women have a vagina, women can give birth, women have periods, men don't. Simple as that. So when you want to alter the definition to appease sick, mentally deranged people, I saw this one video where this guy was a whole ass man with a beard and whatnot. I'm a woman. And the guy kept saying, okay, sir. Don't call me sir. Don't call me sir. I'm like, these people, and they get violent too,
Yeah, they'll get violent with you. They'll get radical.
You talk about the one at the GameStop?
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that guy. I don't give a damn what you're. The old guy stood his ground, man. That old guy said, "I don't give a damn what you're." He was a city council. The gay guy was on the city council. I don't give a damn. I think he was a city council. He ran for city council, something like that, right? I don't give a damn what you got a penis. Sure, I'm gonna be back, sir. Get out of my store. No, I don't. Like you're in a guy's store. You just go there just to start some shit, He said, "I don't agree with long prison sentences." Well, at a certain time, if you could prove that somebody is spreading gay propaganda to children, because you understand some African guys, what we're seeing now is they're doing drag queen and gay stuff, and they're trying to put in children's cartoons. I think if you're going to corrupt a child's mind, I think you should be in jail, Or basically, I say whatever two people do in the privacy of their home, that's one thing. But I don't think you should, or if you sharing stuff personally through email, that's one thing, right? But I don't think you should be able to have access to the World Wide Web and not broadcast media and shit like that, spreading your views and whatnot. I don't think that should be allowed, Now, if you want to have your own private social network or something like that, where exclusive people could join, whatever like that you want to fellowship with your own gay people, whatever, that's fine, Or you want to have your own social club, that's fine. But when I've seen this one thing where these two gay guys start kissing, and they kiss in a black restaurant. The black people in that restaurant were not having it, and then they were just trying to make a case about black people being homophobic.
Yeah,
and they were like, "Hell no, two men ain't gonna kiss." Dave was black, the brother. Black people, right? They're like, "Oh hell no." They were like, "Oh hell no."
Well, my thing is, even growing up in the 90s, we always knew it was gay people, but it wasn't like this, like radical.
It's taking over,
Yeah, it's too much now.
They're trying to take over,
It's too much now, man.
That would then again, African guys, that's their culture, man. Maybe maybe the destructive is more destructive over here, and we don't really like that. America's like a big country like that.
Yeah.
I don't think it really affects us like that, except when they know that, right? So they want to take it a little step further. They want to put it on government buildings and shit like that, where you get a driver's license.
And my thing is, my problem is when they try to hijack the black movement.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did.
Erase everything black and put rainbows there.
Every time you saw the Black Lives Matter, there was a trans and a rainbow flag right next to it. So they were subconsciously promoting the trans gay agenda, using so-called Black Lives. We got hip to that shit,
Yeah, man.
I knew black people weren't that stupid, They were using Black Lives Matter because they knew they couldn't like this. And now it's splintered, right? Now you got they just had a rally today. So trans visibility. We will not be silenced. Trans team are coming out when they know. Stay in the fucking closet, It is what it is. These are topics I don't see it. Never see O'Shea address topics like this. You ever hear him talk about this?
Nah. He can't. He don't have the platform to really, in the
He talks about everything else, man.
intelligent people. He don't have the intelligent people more, enough to talk about this.
Yeah.
His audience, celebrity junk. That's the type of audience they don't want to
Now,
hear.
the reason why I
Logic
do
like
YouTube,
this.
right, and I go to search for Huru, because I'm trying to get away from that shit,
Yeah.
I'm trying to get away from hearing about Rick Ross or Cardi B or Fitty, whatnot. I know
The
they're there,
audience,
right there,
the
but
audience needs the
I
shock
want to have
value.
another medium of discussion. That's why we had the Black African Infrastructure. So those of us who are Black nationalists could commune and meet together, talk about our issues and everything like that. And it was great. I was meeting people all across the country that were talking the same thing: Africa, the future, nation building, and stuff like that, right? And then it just took a left turn. Now, fucking people call themselves Pan Africans. All they talk about is Obama, Kamala, and all this kind of stupid stuff. The mainstream stuff. Shaquille O'Neal. What's his name? The basketball player, LeBron James. I'm like,
Yeah.
what the hell is that report? I thought we were talking about Black national stuff. What the hell we got to say and talk about the game? Kyrie Irving. I don't give a shit about none of this shit. I really don't. I know younger people, man. You guys follow sports when I don't get it. I don't really care about none of that shit,
Yeah, you got other things on your mind. You ain't trying
Other
to.
things on mine, man. Nation building is real to me, So I
Yeah.
can't be talking about celebrity junk and where. Now, when it comes out,
So he can't talk. So he can't, like I said, he can't talk about. He can't bring you up there. To be against what his whole platform.
his
Got
whole
to be
platform is just a bunch of
shock
foolishness.
value, some shock value, like you
Yeah.
said, the minstrel show.
So basically, like this, you got a serious person like Kyle, but mine, he don't want that. He wants the whole. Because the whole thing is, I really think O'Shea is only in Africa because he don't want to see this movement ever be taken seriously. That's what I feel in my heart. I feel in my heart he's not trying to really build repatriation or Africa or whatever like that. He's just there because he asserted himself in this movement, right? Because remember something, he was part of the Negro Manosphere. He was with that Donovan Sharp dude, the dude that only dates
Yeah.
white women, and
Yeah.
all these other guys like that, Tommy Sotomayor, that whole crowd. He was with all that. Phil Scott. These guys are all Tommy black women hating dudes, And so he just jumped into the thing. And also, he was supposed to be a doctor. I want to understand something. If you say you were supposed to be a doctor, right? Why would you be in fucking Uganda? Where then when he said, "Well, we made $8,000," I can talk about mine today. That don't mean he's making $8,000 every month. You know that, right? That could have been like a $8,000 after like 3 or 4 months, for all we know.
Yeah.
So he put like, "Oh, we got $8,000 paid out last month." That don't mean that's every month. So the bottom line is this: how much money can you actually be making off fucking YouTube?
I mean, I don't know, maybe if you got the
Check
advertising,
this out.
I don't know how it works. I really don't know how
This
it works.
is how it works. 1 million views on a video will bring you $12,000.
That ain't bad.
So check this out. Now he does enough with all the videos he puts out. He may do 20 videos and get 1 million views. It may take him like 2 months to get 1 million views on videos. And then basically like this, people are making serious money on YouTube. Yeah, the white people. Oh, I know that. Mufasa. Black people. Remember the guy, Mr. Beast?
Mr. Beast.
Half a billion subscribers.
Yeah,
You got check this out. You got white boys out there. Me and Ramon was playing this one video on his show. This guy was like, he made a new tire, right? That basically was cut in half and it grows, but it goes a certain way like that. And he was showing people how to do it. All of a sudden, check this out: 10 million views in 3 days.
Yeah.
That's white people. YouTube is for still white people. Mr. Beast, all these white YouTubers and whatnot, they make the Joe Rogans, they make the real money. Ain't no real black people making no money off YouTube because the audience is not there.
Our audience is too small. It'll be too.
Our audience is too small.
The ratio. Yeah, the ratio.
So I keep telling people, "Oh yeah, YouTube," but look, yeah, white people are on YouTube. Just go look at anything. You know what you do? Go in there and say how to reprogram my remote, right? And the how-to videos or how to change my carburetor. Go in there. There's some YouTuber, right, that has like 2 million followers and each video got like 1 million views. The only people on YouTube that make
how to
money,
fix a car and how to.
yeah, those are the people that make the actual money. You know,
Kyler, the main purpose of YouTube is educational. It
yeah, and
wasn't.
so black people don't really do
All this stuff
education.
that we're doing, all this content and stuff we're creating and we're doing is really for educational purposes. Like the
Yeah, what you
cheaters
call
will set
yeah,
up an account and they'll be cheating and stuff.
yeah.
That's what it's
Black
really
people
for.
don't do that, right?
Now,
I
Yeah.
yo,
think
I
black
beg to
people try to be
differ,
the
Kyler.
alternative to the mainstream media. Okay, man, I know you watch your BT all day, but I'm gonna try to
But
do what BT does.
the
You
sole
can't do.
purpose for YouTube is to learn. It's the
Yeah,
educational
and
platform.
unfortunately, the black YouTube is not
Really.
teaching anybody anything. You know.
Yeah, it's really an educational. The whole sole
Yeah.
purpose of YouTube is because that's why you got to upload. It's really teachers uploading. Professors,
Look at this
teachers.
comment. Should I block this guy?
Yeah.
Somebody said black people teach how to make prison. Oh, okay. I thought he was saying he being sarcastic, critical thinking. Black people teach how to make prison. Yeah, you ever
But
see that
I
one
looked up
guy?
a video for my car, and a black guy was the tutorial guy. So
Yeah,
I was
that's
like,
a
all
smart
right,
guy. Those type
he
of
had a,
black people are going to make money. The tutorial, black people do
yeah,
the
he was.
tutorial. But you know how you really do the tutorials? Don't let them show your face. And when you use your hands, use gloves.
Yeah,
Nobody knows you're black.
AI voice or something, right?
Well, yeah, do AI and whatnot. Yeah, you make a killing. That's what a lot of black people do. You know, another thing too. A lot of times, black people have business. They don't advertise as a black business.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I've so noticed that, bro.
Yeah,
Because
there's a
once
lot
they
of black
find
people
out
like,
they're
yo, we
black,
don't
it's
want to nigga.
over.
They're like, you're black. I want to pay you. They're like, no, don't come.
Bro,
They'll give
Kyler,
you the
because I wanted to do that, just the same thing you're saying, but I was like, is that legal? Like, say if you were to get like a Chinese restaurant, but you have,
Okay, so the
Chinese
white people
people,
doing it. There's a big thing
right?
going on
But
right
you have
now.
like
Google.
Chinese people work it
There's
though. You know
white
what I'm
people.
saying?
There's Chinese people getting mad because there's white people who are getting rich opening Chinese restaurants, right? And stuff like that. Chinese, but what the hell are you doing? White people don't have no shame, man. They do it. You got white people opening sushi bars and whatnot, hibachis and whatnot. Like, damn. If I want hibachi, I'm gonna go to where freaking Asians do it. I don't want a white person. But white people are doing good. Look at Paula. What's her name? Paula. What's her name?
Paula D.
Paula Dean. Yeah, Paul Dean. That's all black cooking.
Oh yeah, with the southern cooking and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
it's
cornbread and
southern.
all that.
When it's anything with something as a value. This is another minstrel shit. With something as a value that white people want, it's suddenly southern now.
Yeah.
When it was our food and when I was just ghetto soul food, when that nigga food, whatever like that.
That's
But
fact.
when it's now it's good. It's southern cooking.
It's southern. It's Cajun. It's southern.
It's fucking so funny how this shit
And they
works,
make
man.
money. They make money of our shit. On our shit.
Yeah, yes, they do. All the southern, all the
with the crawfish, it'd be white people, making that shit a lot now. I be seeing, they be having videos.
I don't know about
catfish, fried catfish. That was us, man.
Yeah,
fried catfish or cornbread and whatnot. That was us, man.
It's black people.
Even watermelon, black people basically.
Watermelon.
Watermelon. You know what happened? Black people gave up watermelon, right? Because it's stereotype, right? But actually, watermelon was one of the first businesses that put wealth in the black community.
Right.
Black people plant the whole field, right? With a few months, you got a whole field and go around. And young black men were getting rich, harvesting watermelon and distributing them all across the black areas of the South and the North.
Exactly, and that's like one of the most alkaline fruits you can get. That's why I don't know why people are against that.
Black people know why, because they ridiculed us or not, and then they took it over.
Right, from the healthiest fruit, like that's retarded.
We were stereotyped. I ain't no watermelon eating nigga. Then they made us ashamed of watermelon as a fruit or not, and we gave it up. We stopped.
Crazy, bro.
So
I love some watermelon. I don't know. I
love
see the
watermelon.
problem.
Yeah. I like the seedless watermelon the best.
You said the seedless?
Yeah.
Nah, I heard those fake, Kyle. You can't eat those, man.
I don't care. It tastes better.
I don't care.
Liberia got good watermelon, man.
Right? I'm like, I want to go to Africa or like the Caribbean for their fruit.
Check us out. Let me tell you something. Liberia got the best pineapple on the freaking planet.
The
pineapple is so sweet. Bro. You could buy a pineapple on the side of the road, a big pineapple, 50 cents.
Yeah.
Right, we buy 2 of them for $1, right? Go back to the crib, cut it up. Get a nice sharp knife, cut it up, put it in a bowl, and you sit. You talk about oh man, I'm thinking about this shit now. That fucking pineapple is so fucking good and be so big. And here in America, to get the same amount of pineapple, you have to have 6 big cans. Thick cans, right? One pineapple will give you a whole big bowl of pineapple cut up.
And Colin, if they just industrialize the pineapple.
Oh man, if they, they see the bottom line with the African mind, right? You got pineapples there growing in abundance, right? Someone could make their own pineapple canning factory, distribute in the United States, create their own
pineapple juice,
everything like that. There's so much opportunity.
Right?
If
You get crazy.
These idiots out of the way, man. We ever took over Liberia, man? Fucking this place would be a
right. That's what I'm saying, bro. If I ever get some land, first thing I'm making is a farm ASAP. You know what I mean? That's like the best thing you can make.
I would like to have in Liberia a house in the city and a house in a farm. Look how my ancestors
right. And you know what?
They always
I've
had
seen like a lot of black people
city.
do.
They always had a house in the city and a house in the country, right, Dave?
Yeah.
Yeah, the house.
But not, bro. Like, Caribbean black people though, like I've seen that they'll get land out there and they'll like export like exotic fruits back to America and they'll buy it for like a higher price.
You have your own distribution,
Yeah, I'm like, that's a good idea.
There's opportunity, man. There's opportunity, if you just gotta go out there and do it, So it is what it is. But yeah, man. So this topic tonight, somebody said OC tried to do an apology. I didn't hear that, but it's.
Yeah, I didn't even see him go off on you guys. I don't even know what happened.
No, basically he was talking shit about me and Bomani. When I don't know where that fuck came from. Like somebody said, he said, "Oh shit, Carlo don't know about business and whatnot." I am actually a real fucking businessman. I built me and my brother and sister. We built one of the largest agencies in my state. For years, 17 years. Actually, my sister 20 years, me 17. Years. Built one of the largest agencies in the state. I had a business before in the middle. We had a medical transport business. I had business before. My medical transport business, I had that for 3. We had it for 3 years. I didn't see a dime, but payroll was met. I'm not like O'Shea. He got a business, but he only paying people like $10 a month. Yeah, he could run a so-called call yourself a businessman when the people over there don't got when you don't have no minimum wage, and you just pay people whatever you want to, and everything like that. That's what people say. Oh, he got a business in Africa. Come on, that ain't the same damn thing, Now I can say I'm hiring people in Africa, but I know I got away with murder when I remodeled my house in Liberia.
Right? Yeah, pay them easy money. Yeah.
Yeah, because if I had to hire a contractor in America for the stuff I got done,
right? Yeah, millions.
Oh man, that would never got
about 5,000-6,000.
Shit, man, I would have been coming back broken than I am now. So I would have spent way more money. But I got these people, they did a good job, man. New fucking, put that flooring in there, brand new bathroom, brand new toilet, sink, shower, walk-in shower. There are 2 walk-in showers, marble floor, new kitchen, cabinets, whatnot, AC unit put up, new stove, refrigerator, all that. With Africa, you need a refrigerator, man.
You need
the basics, man. You do a refrigerator. Now that in Liberia, you can go to China Mall or in many of these appliance stores and get appliances for cheap. A refrigerator is only $250.
Yeah.
You can get all your appliances for really cheap over there. So you got all. So all I ever want in Africa is a modern way of life. Then you can live in Africa.
And there's nothing wrong with that, Colin. There's nothing wrong.
People say, "Oh yeah, you got to go there and live I don't want to live the real fucking African life."
No. The people that talk like that, those are the oppressors of Africa.
Yeah, those are people that
those are oppressors. Those are people that want to live good in the West, live like how you want to live.
And then when you go to Africa, they tell you don't bring your American ways over there. Just go over there and struggle, be ostracized. No electricity, no running water, living like fucking.
Yeah, but they do that to oppress the locals too. They don't want to show the locals are good. They want to, they want to oppress the locals.
They want to lord it over the locals.
Yeah, use the locals up. Exploit them. It's all a system.
That's why I said, like I said, Kid Ola, he come up here tonight. So, well, see, I said, look, Kid Ola. When I walk around Liberia, I act like I own the place. But I said, Kid Ola, let me tell you something about Black America.
And Kayola acts the same way you act too over there too, Kala.
Yeah.
He's acting like, but he don't want you to go there acting
That's what I
like
said.
that. He
I'm
want
going
that
to
for
act like
himself.
that too because I really feel that country was built my ancestors, and I walk around like I own the place. You know, I do. I act like I own the place. It's my country. You know, that's why I act like when I'm in Liberia. That's my country. You know, you guys just keeping it warm for me. That's all I look at it like. You know. Anyway, basically, I told Kidola, I said, first of all, dude, we're tougher, more violent than you are. You know, they don't seem to understand that. Black America, probably, we're the most violent people. You know, you people can't intimidate us. That's what they want to do. Oh, you come over here, you gotta get the fuck out of here.
Yes, indeed.
No, we're tougher, we're more violent than you are and whatnot. You don't stand a chance against us. You know that ain't happening. You know. Yeah,
Yes, indeed.
African guy said those cheap appliances. Yeah, we know it come from China, but at this point in time, I don't give a fuck. Where are all the African manufacturers of these so-called appliances? You know, they don't exist. So I got to go to the China man. You know, we're supposed to do sit back and be like, let's not use appliances because it's not made in Africa. Or don't black get the fuck out of here with that shit. You know, that's what I tell you, man. That's what
Right?
stupid. You know.
You got to rub two sticks together to make fire just to, satisfy her. It's not that serious, you know?
Yeah, so the bottom line is, the bottom line is Chinese people know, the Lebanese know, black. What they do know is that the average Liberian wants the modern way of life. They don't want to hear nothing else but everything. They want what we have. Or they want to turn Liberia into a little America. That's what they want.
Yeah.
And the bottom
That's
line,
the
these people
problem.
coming in now, they have it. So if you can't come there and help them modernize and build their country, they don't want to hear what you guys say. The big black talking about who call it, what's the process pattern? The only thing they want to know is where the fucking money's at, you know? And let you come in there doing what the white people, the Lebanese are doing, bringing money and opportunity. They don't want to hear what the fuck you guys say, you know? All they're gonna do is, I said, big black. I know. I can't wait. You get like they're gonna love you over there, you know. Because the bottom line, you like, yeah, my brother, big black, hotel, black power, whatnot. Can I get $25? You know, they gonna hit. That's what they do, right, Dave? You be sitting there, you sit there vibe with somebody. Next thing you know, yo, man, I gotta tell you, man, I got this situation. What? Yeah, man, there's nothing in the house. My kids are hungry. I need shit. How much now, man? Right there, you know.
That's crazy.
Yeah, check this out. Every time I see somebody knocking on the door, somebody's coming to visit, and I get horrified, right? Oh no, man! I got. Let me get out the back door before you get here or not, because people don't come around because you know you're going to be $20 less by the time you get. You know what I'm saying? $20.
You gonna feel bad too. You gonna give it up.
I know it. I feel bad, man. I
Feel
said, I gotta
bad?
get out of here.
Yeah.
Money was just draining out of my bank account, man. I was like, I gotta get on that plane, man. Get the fuck out of here. I gotta get the fuck out of here, man. No. I figured because once I get a house, everybody want to come by and visit. Oh, next thing I'm giving this, doing that. And when they say when you come from America, they expect so much out of you, you know.
Yeah, you know.
I told Isabella,
You the chief now, Collar. You Chief Collar.
Yeah, I know. They'll give you a chief, a title. I don't want none of that. I don't want none of that shit because what that comes with is that's why I'm trying to word it. If Dynas is really a prince, right?
Run away.
When you come from America, man, I don't know how Dynas get away with it. Forget, I know in all these countries, everybody try to hit you with money. So I don't know how Dynas get. Maybe because Dynas dresses like an African, you know, and that's going to be it, you know. So I'm out there and I got my nice shoes on, my nice shirt and everything like that. They're like, "Oh, this guy's rich. He got money," and you know. I should start going over wearing my pajamas, you know, like Dynasty and
He's in the pajamas. Or dashiki.
You know, I said, so I love my brother Mufasa and Dynasty, man. But you know what? I can't do the pajama thing, man. You know, I can't do it, man. I can't wear my pajamas in public, man. I can't do it. I can wear my dashiki here and there, man. You know, stuff like that. You know, and they got the Nigerian country cloth, the one that's nice.
Yeah, I like the country cloth. Oh yeah, I love the country cloth.
And I love those little skirts. I love those skirts that the women wear. Those little wraparounds. Is that sexy? What, Dave?
Oh yeah.
That's when the girls got that nice little skinny stomach, whatever like that, and they got that little. Oh man, that's so fucking nice, beautiful. You talking about beauty? Looking at the African women like that, holy shit, man! It's like heaven, you know. Yeah. And everybody, all these females in Liberia are always so in shape and whatnot and slender. and everything like that. It's beautiful, man. Beautiful place, man. Love it. But yeah, so you can have a good time in Africa. I wouldn't trade it for nothing. I like going over there. I wish I would if it wasn't for the rainy season. I could probably live there for like 5 months.
Yeah, but yeah, man, all that come with industrializations, Colin. The water
Yeah.
system, the sewage, the drainage.
Oh yeah. I
All
see
these
this thing.
things.
Did you see that new video I played the other night? They're building
Yeah,
a drain. Somewhere they're building a big drainage. A big tube, a big
yeah,
drainage system. They're digging underground somewhere in Monrovia. So
yeah.
Liberia's
It's
got a
like
lot of
that.
mega projects going on, man. They're really stepping it up. The only thing that's gonna fuck it up if they get George Weah back into power somehow. You see Elvis about, he only lost about 17,000 votes. See, that's the whole thing. Elvis will sit in America, in the comfort of America, right? And want his crewman George Weah. George
It's
Weah,
all about tribe. It's all about
it's
tribe.
on tribe.
It's loyalty
That's
to the
why when
tribe.
people
That's
start
all.
telling me like, we
That's
need
all.
tribe and whatnot,
Let me
tribe,
tell you something. Let me tell you something. George Weah could burn the country down. They still gonna rock with George Weah, man.
of course,
The tribe, man. It's the tribe. I
and the
mean,
fact that he's a native man, they
yeah,
all like,
the
he's a
tribe.
native man, he's a native man. To be honest with you, Cummings should be president right now.
Yeah, I love Cummins, man. I wanted Cummins.
He should be
I
president, right?
wanted
But the bottom
Cummins.
line is, I met his team in 2023. Do you know Dr. Kula, Dave?
No, I don't know Dr. Cool.
She's the one that did that movie Providence. She's the one that brought John Amos there.
Okay.
That movie Providence about Liberia with
No,
that
I don't know.
girl from Cosby Show, and Vivica Fox was in it.
I don't know
It's
about
on
the movie.
Tubi. It's on Tubi.
All right.
Providence. It's on Tubi.
Okay.
So I'm gonna watch it. I ain't get Bomani watched it, but I ain't get a chance to watch it yet.
What is it about?
Huh?
What's the movie about?
It's about the landing. It's like people talking about the history of Liberia. It's like a movie, but people telling through stories,
Mm-hmm.
And it will go back to the times, of the native people and the American Liberians back in 1825, whatever like that, They'll go. It was in modern time, but they'll go back, tell stories, and go back in time,
Oh, okay.
and tell stories. It was really the captions look really good though,
Yeah.
But Dr. Kula is cool when me and her are really good friends, And she was like, basically, she goes, and one of the justices on Supreme Court, she was with Ray, and these guys, really, they said, why don't you come to dinner with us one night? We'll have to have dinner. This nice building in Congo Town, right? This nice apartment building in Congo Town. I said, no, I gotta go. My wife's cooking dinner and whatnot, so I gotta go. I would like to, but everybody, that's one thing about Liberia. I be meeting high level people,
Yeah.
Elected officials. I could really do something if we really had a plan. When I could really do something in that country. If there was a way I could friggin' earn a living over there and really do good business, I'd move there. I live there. I would. But I can't. So. Had they not screwed that country up in the 1980s?
Oh man, Kyla,
I've been living there.
I talked to my auntie Yvette. She says before she came to America in the 70s, she was working at the post office. She was
Liberia had one of the best had the best postal system in Africa.
So yeah, and my uncle, right? God rest his soul, my uncle on my mom's side. He went to school to Switzerland, and then from Switzerland he went to school in America. He was gonna come back to work at Telecom, but the war happened, and he was just like, "Nah, let me just stay."
Everybody's life got screwed up. They got stuck.
Everybody,
His life got screwed up.
some guys sometimes they'll go to school abroad through the government. All that stuff. Elvis talking about native was oppressed.
Yeah, which one? And
my
Lewis,
uncle
what you guys should have did was educate the.
He's a Riverside.
I hate when these people.
How he was lying because I was like, come on, my uncle.
The Elvis, check this out. The government spent. Instead, what they should have did was instead of sending all of native school, they should have took that money and recruited Black Americans and Caribbeans to the country.
Yeah, my uncle's gonna come back. Not all the native people agree to this too, Colin. It's certain tribes,
right?
There's certain tribes, man. My uncle was a Riverside bossa. How he go to school to Switzerland, and from Switzerland he went to school in America just to
Right.
learn
So nobody was thinking about that
telecommunications.
tribal shit
Yeah,
until
nobody was
1980.
thinking about that shit. As long as you was determined, you went to school. You know, if you're not determined to go to school, you want it the fast way, of course. But if you're trying to get it the fast way, it's not, you know, they're gonna step on you. If you go into school, you learn in the system. Even before a Liberian travel out, you're well cultured, you're well trained, you know the word, you understand the word, you're well spoken, you're well
Yeah, one
dressed.
thing I
You
do
know,
give about
you're not just gonna,
Liberia,
you're
one thing
not
I
gonna.
do,
One thing my mom used to tell me, she said, you before you even came in the city, you was well dressed. You was, you on,
yeah, it was like old Black America. You know, it's like when you
So
go.
it was preparing you to where when you leave Liberia, you represent the nation well. You don't
Exactly.
represent
You
the
know.
goddamn nation like a goddamn savage. You know?
Yeah, they
That's
made
it.
sure the people that
Yeah,
left Liberia were civilized.
yeah.
Like the Liberia was
You
exceptional among Black people. You know.
yeah, so you're not gonna just come from the bush and you got a fifth grade education and you want to be a director. Get the fuck out of here.
Now check this out. Hey, check this out. Maputo, Baruti talks about the fact that I talk about Taoism, not Ubuntu. But what he can't do is show me. I read the Taoist books, right? Where's the Ubuntu book? It doesn't exist, does it? Ubuntu is a concept. There's no friggin' like Confucius got philosophers, books on Confucianism and stuff like that. Where's a book on Ubuntu? You know,
I've never seen no books on.
there's no
I never
books
seen
on
no books.
Ubuntu. So that's why I said Brudy's he talks a bunch of nonsense. So he can't show me any Ubuntu books, you know, where people could articulate.
But it's
People,
oral. You getting a Ubuntu from oral
yeah,
history. It's not.
oral and just it's a feel good stuff, you know.
It's tainted. Once it's oral, it's tainted. You
Yeah,
know, it's
so
no
it's like,
script.
oh, Ubuntu and whatnot, you know. But
Tainted.
when I say Taoism, man, that basically my philosophy in life is based on Taoism, right? Yin and yang, balance, you know. I do about everything in balance. Where like people say, "Well, Kyle, what's your are you like?" I believe in yin and yang, meaning balance, you know, whatever harmony, you know, balance, right? I know I can't be all one way. I can't be one way to say are you Democrat, Republican? Well, I'm a little bit of both, you know, and a little bit of neither, you know.
Yeah.
Everything like that. Everything I do, you know, it's a balance there, you know. I always look for compromise and way I can absorb what things that I'm adverse to, you know. That's what Taoism taught me. So if something teach me that, and that really helped me out in my life and my thinking and stuff like that, you know, and the way I see the world, you know.
Yeah. I wish
I'll
more
say
about.
after you guys said,
I wish.
"Are you sure, Colin?" There's certainly there's a concept, but it's
Yeah.
not a
It's more.
friggin' Africans do not know balance, Mufasa.
Nah, I
Only
would. That's why
Africans know
I was
balance.
about to say. I wish more of our African leaders had that concept.
They say that, but you could see, look, you could see Taoism and Confucianism in the way modern Asian functions. You know, you could see delayed gratification. You know, you could see managing expectations. You know, discipline. All those things that I was taught with Taoism and whatnot does not exist in African culture. I'm trying to bring it to African culture, you know, discipline. And I say like this, even when I propose the idea of an Afghanistan, right? Why don't the African mind right away is hostile towards it, right? And I say to myself, instead of the African mind saying, if we did build this new state, right? How can we benefit from this, right? Wouldn't this new state be a good new market for our products, right? You see how the Asian mind thinks, the
Yeah.
Western mind thinks, and the African mind doesn't think? You see how that works? The African doesn't even think, well, geez, if black people in America start coming to Africa building stuff or that, yeah, we could be really on our way. You know, we could, build something with it. Does the African mind think like that? No.
Not balance. It's not balance.
There's no balance in Africa because
It's
they
not
only think
thinking
one
about the
way,
other
whatever
side
like that. They don't
too.
know how to change. Have you ever, Dave? Have you ever heard of a native Liberian who thinks like Elvis ever changed his opinion after learning something in history?
No. But
I have
hold
never.
on. No. But ask this question even better. Will you ever find somebody like Elvis thinking, okay, put yourself in the Congo people's shoes? And
No,
that in
they would never
20th
do that.
century,
They don't have any
you're coming
concept of
from
how to do that.
slavery, you not have to have that compare and contrast and that
And
critical thinking
also,
and
you
analytic.
ask
Yeah,
somebody, Elvis,
no,
can you
no.
put this in the context of, well, why was Native Liberians any different from the rest of Africa? Africa was a poor, underdeveloped continent. You know, why was the Native Africans at Liberia expected to do better than the rest of Africa? When the bottom line, we all know that the American Liberia was just really an outpost of the Western culture and civilization. So of course they're going to be a little more advanced. You know, they never think about that. You know.
Yeah.
They don't even put it in proper context. Liberia was a developing country, you know? So therefore, just like the rest of the African continent, so in other words, basically, by that logic, right, every country in Africa has a right to have a coup because they may be impoverished or not have any political power, you know?
Yeah.
It'll be a never-ending cycle of violence if the African mind really takes over, you know? So in other words, because you feel like you should be in power absent any responsibility, absent the fact that you're not paying the taxes, you don't build a country, you didn't create this civilization, you know, you didn't create anything, but you believe that you're in power just because, you know? And so they all say, well, let's look at it from their point of view. They established this republic and everything like that. You know, why would they just hand over their life over to when you talk about holding a state, and they like you holding a couple of government jobs, you have power over the police, you have power over the courts, you have power over the laws. There's a lot to it when you take over power of a state, you know. So they never think, well, how the hell did they basically do all this or not? Was it easy? You know, can we do what they did? Right? Can we do what they did? You know, can we do any better than they did? You know, they couldn't. You know, so that's why I say the African mind just they don't really reason. You know, it's called reason and logic.
Yeah.
You know, I say LARP was logical, achievable, reasonable, and practical. You know, and most of the part, the African mind doesn't think like that.
No, very unreasonable. Very unreasonable.
You know, you got to have a sense of reason. You have to have a reasoning. And I've been trying to reason with Elvis for how many all along. You know, I can't reason with him. You know. He still don't get it, you know? And what gets me is if he really believes what he says, like the coup was necessary, why is he living in Liberia?
No, hell no, he's not living under those.
See how they basically talk out of two sides of their mouth? See, when people talk, right, and we listen to this stuff, we say you're full of shit, right? Or black people in America, like, nigga, please.
Tyler, we're going to judge Liberia in the next 5 years. 50 years going to mark this. In the next 5 years, 50 years going to mark
50 years since the so-called Congo people are gone. You know.
Yeah. So now you got a half a century,
and you got so many people
in
I know,
power.
like
my
brother,
we're
wife's
gonna
brother,
do
right?
the report card.
You have people, right, that they haven't had a job in years since Ellen left. Have not had steady work. Really simple. You guys know what that's like. That basically every day you're scrounging for $1 here and there and whatnot. That there's absolutely no work, no nothing.
But yeah, of course they're not gonna have a job. My Ellen's not in power no.
Yeah, so that is the reality. That is the reality of Africa. But the whole thing is, like you heard what I said to Elvis tonight. I said, when I'm seeing little kids out there, 8 and 9 years old, selling bottles of water and whatnot, when they should be in school, he said, well, you see that in America. Where do you see that in America?
Nowhere. No, they put their parents in jail.
Their parents were in jail so freaking fast. You know, child CPT, Child Protective Services.
Come out there quick, man.
Remember the guy that went to he got arrested because he left his kids in McDonald's while he went for a job interview?
Yeah.
That's reality in America.
You left your kids. But they didn't even give him no mercy. He went to a job interview.
He went to a job interview, and still the whole society was like, "You left your kids." You know? Now, if he didn't get the job, they'll be calling him a bum, a deadbeat, whatever like that. He went for a job interview. You know, a single dad. You know, and he said, "I just had no babysitter, nothing like that." You know, and so, but I heard one basketball player is raising money for him. You know.
Yeah.
That's
No
what
help.
good people should do. Raise money for. And then people like saying, "Why are you raising money for
But we
him?"
don't hear those stories. We don't hear those stories, Kyla.
People,
We
but
don't
you
hear
got a
those
lot of black
stories like
women who
that.
are angry. Why he left his kids out there and whatnot. But I said, like, the same people, when you go to Africa, right, leaving your kids for days at a time, letting them run the streets is normal.
Yeah. Sometimes for days by themselves.
Is normal. I see that shit. I'd be like, I would tell you, where are your parents at? Where do you live at? I don't know. A lot of times they don't know where they live. I
Sometimes
be
they
laughing.
chilling, they're
That's
with
what it
their
is.
friends or something. Maybe they staying with their friends. You see
Yeah,
that
they
drama.
live with this auntie and this auntie. Like what you call, we had a couple of what we call houseboys that stay with us for a week. They don't know where they live at, but they just go from place to place doing work to get fed. That stuff
That's the
still exists in
reality. That's
Africa
the
right now.
reality of Africa, man.
That's the reality
If
of Africa. That's the reality.
if you born in the wrong tribe, it's a death sentence.
It is, man. You can't get no place in
It's
Liberia,
a
man.
death sentence, man.
Africa said don't know enough about Liberia to argue, but it would seem that to me that you would need to get a native people to buy into your concept. How do you get that? Because tribalism and nationhood cannot reconcile with each other. Nationhood means you have to give up tribe, and become a pluralistic society, a cosmopolitan society. Africans don't want to do that.
Yeah, but Kyle, I asked them this question all this time. I said, I understand that you're in a tribe, but you don't leave the country as a Pella man or a Bassa man. You leave the country as a Liberian. So you got to buy into the system.
Because when you land overseas, nobody want to know about your Pele background.
Yeah, nobody care about that. They want to, I
They
said
looking
with the
for
with the 1980 coup, they saw a Liberian killing another Liberian. They didn't see native man. No, they saw a Liberian soldier.
All they saw
killing
was black people
That's what
can't
they
kill
saw.
other black people.
Yeah, you
That's all
saw
it was. They said,
native
look,
man and this
all they
one.
said was,
No,
look at these niggas killing each
yeah,
other.
killing
That's
each
all they
other.
are.
That's what
Same
they
thing with
saw.
Hutus and Tutsis. They
Yeah.
look at that's Africa. That's all they are is a bunch of savages.
Yeah.
He goes, why
see
can't
that.
Allah find an African country with the infrastructure and conductor to his implementing? Because there is none, Yeah, it was that easy, man. It'd be great.
Yeah.
There is none. And the only country I could think of, Angola, is just too far away, man. We ain't got no direct flights to Angola, man. So I would love to, for the bottom line. Once we build Liberia, we could probably launch into the rest of Africa, man. But got to get Liberia first, man. That's the closest country to us, That's why we went there in the first place. It's right there, So it is what it is. It's like I said, it's not to put down Africa, but you want to see things change because I see the reality of the continent. The continent is, like I said, it's got to be a concerted effort to guarantee. I like Chihori, what he's doing.
Oh yeah, yeah, he's doing a lot of work.
The bottom line, you got to give hope. Look, right now, there's Liberia. They
work.
said for the first time I've seen, right, people talking about a lot of youth. Liberian youth are good. They're really good. But how long are you going to have people living in poverty before they turn to crime?
Yeah.
Right now, I give Liberians this, man. They're freaking amazing people. The fact that they could just be so happy, so tired, live with nothing, They'd be sitting there laughing and smiling and whatnot. I'd be like, oh my God, I feel. But the bottom line, there's always just happiness about them,
Yeah.
But how long is that happiness going to keep up when they freaking? But you got the politicians up there. I heard the vice president, his salary is $16 million a year.
Really?
Yeah, how's
that possible?
But get this: how the hell can you justify that in a country where the budget's only $800 million a year?
Hey, man. Hey, Colin, that's Africa, man. And if you say something, they're gonna want to kill you.
Yeah. So bottom line is, they basically empowered to rob, steal, and get rich and loot.
The right tribe, Colin. They in the right tribe, man.
Yeah, if you're in the right tribe, you get the same thing.
They're in the right tribe, man. Yeah,
you're in the right tribe. But I don't have to say Dynasty is a Yoruba, man. Why isn't he getting on that Yoruba money? I don't understand that. What's supposed to be a Yoruba if you're not connected to power or not? Yorubas could dominate Lagos. They're the ones that really dominate Lego. So you think like somebody invite dinosaur on a freaking thing. You know. Yeah, African politicians do the least amount of work, least amount of result, but they got the highest salaries in the world, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But that's what it is.
Salaries that rival the United States.
Yeah. So say what's your business? I'm going on. People go to in Africa, getting elected to political office is job one. And when they get there, they want to stay in office. They'll do anything. That's what I said. Democracy is a fucking joke, man, you know?
Yeah.
Because that's all when Mufasa talk about. Oh, yeah, see, other people are when they practice things like Taoism, they got thousands of years of history to know what to do. You know, that's why their governments work. That's why Lee Kuan Yew basically could build a world-class country like Singapore in one generation, whatnot, because they basically reached back into their history. They reached into the ancient Chinese philosophers and brought it to the modern world and said, look, this is what our plans are. And everything's based on what they know from history. You got to know history, you know what happened in the past so they don't repeat it and go like this. He said, we have no history. Obviously, we don't learn from it, you know. What history do we have, Mufasa? You know, if we had history, right, the transatlantic slave trade would have never happened. You know, we would have. You know what the thing, Dave? Dave, what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Listen to this very carefully, right? When the Persians threatened the Greeks, right, whatever like that, you know, the Cretians, the Greeks, whatever like that, they reached back into their history and said, "We've seen this before, right?"
Yeah.
The Athenian scholars, Spartans, said, "We've seen this before. Such thousands of years ago did this. This is how they responded." Boom, boom, boom. So they said, we have a similar threat coming on right now. So what do we got to do? What did we learn from last time? Well, we got to stop fighting among each other. That's exactly what they did, didn't they?
Yeah.
And then they basically coalesced around the Spartans to take on the Persian threat. You know, the Han tribes, right? When they looked at it and say, you know something, we got a problem. Now the Han tribes made a mistake, right? When the Manchus came in there to put down a rebellion with the Tibetan rebellion, right? They end up staying and taking over China. You know, that was a mistake. Chinese are never going to let that happen again in history. They invited the Manchus in for protection against the Tibetans. And next thing you know, they say, you know something? Well, it's time for them to withdraw and go back to Manchuria. They decided to stay, you know, and they took over the Qing. It's created the Qing dynasty, you know. So I'm saying, my point I'm trying to make is, when you know history and whatnot, things like some things just don't happen, you know?
Yeah.
Like, which we call anybody who knew, if African and Black people know history, right? They would have read books like Animal Farm, right? Liberia was something straight out of Animal Farm, you know? You know, when you're well-read, Mufasa, read literature and stuff like that, you understand everything has relevance. Like Animal Farm, you know, when Animal Farm was like, every last single revolution was like Animal Farm, right? The people calling for the revolution become the oppressors, or they become, oh, well, some pigs are more equal than the others, you know? That was Animal Farm. The same thing what happened in Liberia, right? The so-called progressives and all these other people took over and whatnot, and the People Representative Council took over, and they become like, an elite group of people, like making all decisions, to the point where they start brutalizing their own students and everything. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Every time I drive by a Lutheran church, you remember what happened there in 1886? You know,
yeah,
Samuel Doe stood outside and they massacred a whole entire church. And people like Elvis will never talk about that. You know, he stood outside and massacred. And then people talk about, oh, Bob Johnson built something on Candasia was a sacred place. You know how many bodies were in?
Yeah, that was a grave site. That was a mass grave site.
During the war, they were just pulling up bodies there when it was
a mass
it
grave
was
site.
piss shit and
Talking about it was a culture center. It's our culture, but it's a mass grave site.
What they during the war, that place was a massacre site. See, that's what I'm talking about. The hypocrisy, right? That's when people run up on me with all this nonsense and whatnot. They come against somebody who's well read, you know, and that's what they don't like on me, because I know a lot of times what they say is they're full of shit, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I call it like that. I ain't one of these African Americans that listen to everything Africans say like it's gold and whatnot. You know, I understand too. Just like everybody else, Africans lie. You know, and they're conniving and deceitful, just like everybody else. Just like black people, white people, Asian people. There's nothing virtuous or special about Africans. You know, they're people like everybody else. You know, so it is what it is. You know. Yeah, different than Mufasa is Europeans realized they were in the Dark Ages. Then they had a Renaissance, you know, and they pulled them. They had an age of enlightenment, you know. Africa has never looked through an age of enlightenment, you know. Where's the African Renaissance going to be? I believe us returning to Africa could spark an African Renaissance. Right now, Africa is in the Dark Ages.
Yeah, still in the Dark Age.
Africa's in the Dark Ages, very Dark Ages, right? The thinking during the Dark Ages, there was a thing called in the Inkling of an Oakland Eye, a painting, right? So in other words, basically, the painting was painted during the Middle Ages, the Dark Ages, right? It was basically one of the paintings of the pre-Renaissance, right? And the painting was a king and all his finery and robe dead and rotting, right? Next to his servant, right? And they'll both bodies were getting eaten by maggots and whatnot, you know, the same. So in other words, the king had all his gold on him, everything like that, and he was getting eaten the same way as the people under him, you know, service and everything like that. So what it's saying is, when you die, it's all the same. In the wink of an inkling of Oakland, in the wink of an eye, you can be gone. And what does it all matter? You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So when Europeans start thinking like this and new thinking start taking effect, what is the purpose of life? Why should one king just have absolute rule? Why can't we, the average man, thing? That's what basically led to the Protestant Reformation. You know?
Yeah.
You got to know history and know how to think. When is Africa going to have an African Reformation? Well, we take these oligarchs. You know what's going to happen when you have a Renaissance? When Africans get rid of tribalism.
Yeah.
That's a test for Africa. Yeah. When they get rid of tribalism and embrace and say and come to grips with what they happened during the transatlantic slave trade, then Africa will move forward. Until then, Africa is always going to be in the Dark Ages. You know, Liberia, until it reconciles what it did in that 1980 coup.
Oh yeah, they're going to be in a hole, bro. They're going to be in a hole.
They're always going to be in
a hole.
They're being punished for the sin of that
You ever notice since Sammy Doe, a native man don't sleep in a executive mansion?
Right, because they basically so like that's just sad, right? You got that beautiful executive mansion and whatnot, you know.
They don't utilize it. They only utilize it maybe to do little office meetings and stuff like that. But you know, since the 1980 coup, they don't like to sleep in it. They say it's haunted. You know, it's haunted.
Yeah, all superstitions and whatnot. You know. Yeah, it is what it is. So this is what we talk about, you know, folks, and whatnot. See, that's what I said. I'm trying to lead a cultural revolution and a renaissance, you know, and it starts with the changing. I think we got to realize most of the stuff that we've been led to believe is not true.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why we're in the situation with it. That's why we're the poorest race on the freaking planet, you know. That's why we're the most ignorant race on the planet. That's why we're backwards, because of our thinking. You know, and we don't want to change. We want to basically make it seem like, oh, we're this, we're that. Look, and I know for fact of man, we have potential to be great like anybody else, but right now we're not. You know, that's just being honest with ourselves. You know, we have a lot of changing to do. We got to look at ourselves and say, look, how can we make things better for our race and better for ourselves and everything like that? Till that happens, nothing's ever going to change in the world we live in. You know. But let me play some of this other video. Then I'm going to close out. This is Dave. This is our first, you know, the BAO. This is the first meet and greet.
In Atlanta. You said in Atlanta.
In Atlanta, yeah.
Black African Infrastructure Organization, and then we're out here in Atlanta, Georgia, in the heart of the West End, 640 Community West Cafe, and we're here to have our first meet and greet with the family, with other members, sisters and brothers that have come from all over, have traveled to finally put a face to the other sisters and brothers that we have. Here at the Black African Infrastructure Organization, our tenants are land, infrastructure and nationhood, and that's what we truly believe in. And we're all truly happy to.
I'm gonna try to fast forward a little bit. Ah, shit! I hate this. Oh, okay.
To finally be in a position where we can truly meet people of like mind. And I'm your brother Jonathan Hill, and I'm from
a safe environment. So we were introduced to the Nation of Islam when I was 11, and I spent 7 years in the Nation of Islam, the Shrine of the Black Madonna. So I'm all about nation building, and I know about it.
See, basically, yeah, what do you think that was? See, people met up. That was beautiful, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was a beautiful time.
Y'all gonna have another one of these meetings. Y'all gonna have another one of these meetings.
Well, I just need people on the social network to start getting more active and stuff like that.
Okay.
You know, people aren't really active on the social network. All it takes is this. Did you join any chapter?
Yeah,
in the social network.
New Jersey chapter, New Jersey. One in New Jersey.
Okay, what you got to do is just send out a thing, inbox people from the other people in Jersey, just have a meetup. You know,
all right.
Say, look, I'm in the BAL. We're not, just call people up. We're not. Let's get together. Start organizing your own little meetup, man. Have a meetup. You guys order your BAL shirts. Get your logo. Take the logo and get it made. Just have a meetup. That's all. Then what you do is just post pictures to the social network site. That's how we build this thing.
Okay. Okay, Kyle, I got you. Kyle.
Yeah, so as I said, I just need people to start taking action. Then we can actually do that thing we talk about in building a community in Liberia. So we have meetings with everybody nationwide. We have chapters nationwide, and people basically we could find the people that want to go or invest in a new reality we're trying to build in Liberia.
Yeah, man.
So it's the bottom line is just to take some work. The thing is, what messed it up is all these other platforms popping up and people doing their own thing and whatnot, and people are like, oh, moving too slow. And they got involved with Lou Major, Dynas, and Kaiwo and all that. And I just sat back and be like, okay, I'll just wait my turn, So that's why when people come up here and talk about collar scamming, shit.
That threw me off. That threw me off. You don't even ask for no money.
I don't ask for shit. I'll ask as people listen. I said people listen, So it is what it is. Anyway, brother, I'm gonna have to end the show now. I'm tired,
all right, man. All right, take care.
All right, y'all take care. Good night, folks. I'll see you next time.
All right, good night, man.